Kiev, Ukraine, Golden Truth Publishing, 2010. Nigeria is one of the most diverse countries on Earth. But before I explain the details of that statement with you, suffice it to say that even Apple Inc., one of the biggest companies on Earth, has a spectacular culture. It's what they call diversity at their workplace. Starbucks believes that diversity is one reason why they're such a successful company. A study featured in Harvard Business Review suggests that diversity is largely responsible for good corporate performance. Whichever perspective you choose to see corporate productivity from, you cannot ignore the underlying principle of diversity. Little wonder many big multinational corporations get bigger and bigger by the day, providing a rich blend of efficient staff and timely products. They move from country to country, continent to continent, and market to market, delivering varied products to suit the specific needs and taste of each place. On the contrary, diversity, in reality, goes beyond the workplace. In fact, the workplace is only a microsimulation of the real deal about diversity. If you look at it from the point of communities, societies, towns, cities, states, countries, regions and the planet as a whole, then diversity becomes a very major topic for us to consider. These larger systems provide you and me with more serious challenges of tolerance, coexistence, progress, and development. It's so because the gains we stand to benefit is exponential compared to what is obtainable at the workplace. Expectedly, the benefits of diversity from larger outlooks such as in a country like Nigeria can only be bigger and more impacting as well as far-reaching. As a result, I have written this book to bring the issue of diversity to an intense national consciousness for every Nigerian. There is no doubt that this book will make you extremely proud to be a Nigerian. You will see diversity as a blessing rather than a curse, and you will see how we can use the blessing of our diversity to solve all our national problems. Nigeria is naturally diverse in many areas and in several respects, but the country remains in a mess after over 5 decades of independence from colonial rule. I have written this book to call the attention of Nigerians, you and I, to the wealth of opportunities around us, to the blessedness rather than the negativities of our diversity. The Biafran struggles, the Fulani herdsman situation and the deadly Boko Haram are some of the stubborn problems Nigerians still face today because we have neglected our diversity. We have failed to celebrate our diversity. That which ought to be a blessing has become a curse to us. Beyond security, the palpable North-South divide, the strong religious tension between Christians and Muslims, the ever-present ethnic lines drawn across all sectors of the nation, and the unfortunate social gap between the old and the young are all requiring urgent attention. Unlike the popular religious narrative of praying until something happens, I believe that you as a Nigerian should stand up, think differently, and act accordingly if the Nigerian dream will ever come to be in your lifetime, or if your children will ever have a taste of a better Nigerian. All of our problems as Nigerians have very potent solvency lying in the same diversity the country is blessed with but has refused to explore and exploit. This book is not only meant for the Nigerian people, but it is also meant for the government. I have highlighted several aspects of nation building which the government has perpetually ignored to the detriment of the nation's progress. For example, I discussed how peace and economic progress are greatly hinged on embracing and exploring diversity as a nation. Sustainable development is not so much of a complex thing if we can look within and act accordingly. I discussed several practical ways to explore the nation's diversity and the huge benefits that are attached. In this book, you will find several keys to self-liberation and communal advancement. In spite of government's failure, you will find that your deliverance is solely in your hands. We have repeatedly experienced government failure at different levels all around the world, but people have succeeded and built progressive societies anyway. You can choose to wait for the government or some divine intervention, but that is all you may ever do, wait. Unless you realize what opportunities lie around you daily as a Nigerian residing in Nigeria, or as a Nigerian in the diaspora. You may always complain and wish you were born in the Western, developed societies. You often forget that no deity built the advanced countries for them, men like you and I did. Ironically, this is where religion is supposed to play a key role, but we mix everything up. Religion has messed us up in this way. I mean, religion should have taught us that our Creator was not stupid when He made us Nigerians. When you realize this, you will begin to ask the right questions about what you ought to do and stop waiting for some deity to transform your country overnight. When Peter in the Bible preached Jesus to very religious folks on the biggest issue of that time, still of this time, they did not run into prayer and fasting to seek God's face. They asked a simple question: what must we do to be saved? But today we like to run to God for the same things He literally ran to us for. Until you realize that you have been given enough to make your society better, you may always despise the very resources around you which many other countries have and are turning to cash and lending to your government. You will view Nigeria's diversity, which was perhaps the greatest blessing God gave to Nigeria, beyond oil and other mineral deposits, as a curse. Consequently, this book is a reliable resource for policy formulation and personal development. From this book, if you are a political office holder or civil leader, you will find adequate guidance to channel resources correctly, plan wisely, and function effectively towards delivering to us the Nigeria of our dreams. In communicating with you via this book, I have omitted unnecessary technical jargon and rather communicated my message in common sense simplicity. Technical details are good, but we need not pursue them and lose focus on the simple truths they describe or make obscure. As an individual, you will also find the necessary corrections you need to make in your perspective of nationhood and economic emancipation. You will see your role glaringly in building the Nigeria that we all will be proud of. I discussed religion, culture, and ethnicity in details to help you shape your outlook on the nation correctly, in case you have a wrong perspective at the moment. I also discussed diversity as providing natural solutions to unemployment and poor education. I am convinced that correct knowledge precedes rewarding action. Whatever action you take as an individual or on behalf of the state, I have provided you a good basis to make informed choices and act profitably. The excuse is not permitted for the ignorant, much less for you who holds this book today. Read, digest, and act. Your deliverance is in your hands. Why did I have to write this book? I am pained by my country's ignorance. It would be wicked and hypocritical of me not to point out the solutions we are missing, to the problems Nigerians have to deal with every day. Most of these problems are very unnecessary. It is just that we have not been taught to see them, or we are refusing to see them. I have not written to analyze problems. I have rather written to help you understand why the problems exist and how you can position yourself to thrive in spite of them and to eliminate them ultimately. A very important point throughout this book is that you and I must learn to appreciate and celebrate our diversity. It is in celebrating our diversity that we will first begin to see the opportunities it provides us. And appreciating the fact that Nigeria is diverse will definitely help you to be more grateful that you are a Nigerian. Irrespective of the negative things that have been attached to Nigeria, I am forever proud to be a Nigerian. This is because I realize that Nigeria is more blessed than cursed. In fact, Nigeria is not cursed at all. There is really a lot more to celebrate in and about Nigeria. Foreigners will not leave their countries to show you these things or sing your praise. You are the one to compose your praise and send it to all and sundry, only then can they join you in singing your song. Only then will they come and patronize you. This is the fact. No amount of prayer will reshape the image of Nigeria in the world. Nigerians will have to take up this responsibility. I don't only talk about these things in this book, I offer practical steps for you to take. Africa is perhaps the richest continent on the surface of the earth. It's a thing of pride for Nigeria to be called the giant of Africa. Yet many Nigerians know that it's only an inconsequential terminology. Being giants should not be only by numbers at this stage of global evolution. Countries like France and Germany are small countries in terms of population, just like the UK, but they are by far ahead of Africa's most populous nation, in terms of economic, financial, political and military powers. The world is run by people who make things happen and have results to show for their actions. If Nigeria is ever a prosperous nation, you and I will have to learn to appreciate, celebrate and explore the nation's diversity. Our population alone is a blessing, which should place us far ahead of smaller countries like the United Kingdom, Ukraine, Russia, etc. This is why in this book, I discussed in detail what diversity is perceived to be generally, and what diversity truly is. The information contained in this resource you're holding is not for you alone. Spread the word of Nigeria's diversity. That is the least you can do to ensure that Nigeria really begins to move forward in the right direction, for your benefit, and for posterity. You will find out more about your role, beyond the government's role as you read on. Be the example to your sphere of contact, your friends, family, colleagues, and community members. Wherever you go or wherever you are, Nigeria has waited long enough to receive your contribution towards advancing her diversity profitably. Be responsible enough to heed this call. Otherwise, the problems we face today will become insurmountable for the coming generation. We are at a tipping point, and now is the time to act right. After you have read this book, it will always be Nigeria first. For the love of God, Church and nation. Sunday Adelaja. Chapter 1. Help, I am a racist. And a tribalist. First of all, it is a difficult task trying to tag any Nigerian as a racist. Yes, Nigerians are a complex group of people. In actual sense, they might be guilty of many crimes they are being accused of. However, if you know Nigeria and Nigerians very well, you will realize that racism is not something Nigerians understand very well. It's not just that Nigerians are not racists, in fact, more often they don't even understand what racism is all about. I know I cannot speak for a whole nation. When I speak in general terms in this book, I am primarily relating to the average statistics. On average, Nigerians are not racists. They could be anything else but not racists. I have had a lot of experiences to prove this. I have been living on this planet Earth for more than 50 years, 30 of which I have spent outside the shores of Nigeria. I have seen Nigerians in different situations and circumstances. From the complex to the ridiculous, yet racism is not something that could be attached to them. I remember when as a 19-year-old lad, I in the company of about 300 other students arrived in Europe for the first time on a government scholarship. We met a very huge pool of international students in the then former Soviet Union. In my university alone, we had people from 99 countries of the world. 99 countries. I think that is a good test. It is a good enough stage to test yourself out, including in the area of racism. That was probably my first experience to see how people from other nations related to races. We Nigerians, either Igbos, Yoruba, Hausa, Ibibio, Ijaw, Ogoni, Edo, Idoma, etc., were all taken aback to see that the black students from South Africa, for example, were very resentful of the white population they were meeting in Europe. Other people from French-speaking countries kept complaining about why Africans were poor and blaming Europeans for it. Again, Nigerians could not understand this because Nigerians were used to blaming themselves and not Europeans for their plight. We also noticed that some other smaller countries in Central Africa and the islands were paying too much regard and respect to white people. Again, this was totally unfathomable to us. Nigerians were different. They were confident. They saw themselves as equal to people from any race and nation. Kenyans, Namibians, and Zimbabweans, for example, talked about how all the investments in their nations were being taken over by Indians or white people, but again Nigerians were surprised. Nigerians didn't have this kind of sentiments. When needed, Nigerians respected their white hosts, and when needed they also didn't hesitate in getting involved in some fracas or fistfights with them. Whatever you say about Nigerians, their questions were not questions of race, but questions of honor, respect, and dignity. They were giving that to other races, and they expected to be treated the same. Even though Nigerians were constantly involved in some fights with the European hosts, this was not because they were racists, but because they demanded respect. If other African countries would simply let bygones be bygones, Nigerians would not allow those kind of moral and ethical demands to stop them from retaliating for any injustice done to them. I hope this book is being read by our European brothers and sisters. I myself have been involved in bringing large groups of Europeans, Americans, Scandinavians, Russians and other nationalities to Nigeria. There have been mixed feelings every time. My experience is that whenever our European brothers have tried to engage in some act of belittling or debasement of their African hosts, there has been a sharp resistance, if not a violent refutal of such acts. I remember a situation when some of my team members were taking photographs of the Makoko slum. Some zealous Nigerians came around to stop them from taking pictures of people living in the slum and in abject poverty. My European friends were taken aback by the aggression and anger of the Nigerian hosts. After further discussion with these men, the reason became clear. These Nigerians were concerned about the superiority attitude of some of the Europeans. Pointing to the high-rise building of Maryland and Victoria Island, they questioned why the Europeans didn't take the pictures of the good-looking places in Lagos. They explained that it is a common practice among some Europeans to always show the ugliest and the most horrifying images of Africa, especially in their news media. It is this type of one-sided portrayal of Africa that has led the world to think that Africa is only about poverty, hunger, and famine. I personally can attest to that. A lot of people in Europe today will find it difficult to believe that there are parts of Africa that are as good as some European cities. The general picture of Africa is negative, with poverty-stricken images of the continent. When similar clashes occur either in the streets of Lagos or in the parks of Amsterdam, between Africans and Europeans, some Europeans tend to think that these Africans are simply racist. Not true. Their concern is about respect, honor and dignity. They, especially Nigerians, believe that they deserve enough honor, respect, and dignity as the Europeans who visit them or who they meet in Europe. Their thinking is that they too deserve at least a reciprocal attitude. To the credit of my fellow Nigerians though, I can attest to the fact that a lot of the teams that have come with me to the country generally go back with the impression that Africans are very respectful and extremely honoring to their European visitors. So, the problem of Nigerians is not necessarily a problem of race or racism. As I have said earlier, it is a problem of honor. As you can see above, the title of this chapter is called Help, I Am a Racist and a Tribalist. I have slightly touched on racism and why I or any other Nigerian cannot be regarded as a racist. It is just not in our bones. This is because most Nigerians never had close interactions with the white colonialists. Even though Nigeria was a colony of Great Britain, yet not too many Nigerians felt the presence of European oppression personally. Nigeria is exclusively a diverse country. This book is targeted at celebrating that diversity. The tactics of rulership that was adopted by colonialists in Nigeria was called divide and rule. This method of domination is when the Europeans won the trust of the ruling class of Africans, especially the royal houses, who in turn represented the interest of the Europeans. They had more direct interactions with the local population, carrying out the will and commands of the European masters. West Africa was more fortunate than their eastern and southern counterparts. The Europeans could not survive long in our part of the world, thanks and no thanks to our deadly mosquitoes that infected them with malaria and other diseases. The red-hot sun of West Africa did not help matters either. It was not just hot, it was deadly for the Europeans, especially in a century that was before air conditioners and electronic ventilators. Unlike in eastern and southern parts of Africa where the weather was more conducive to the Europeans. Not too many of the European colonial masters moved to the western part of the continent. In South Africa and East Africa, the weather seemed to be like a paradise to many European sojourners. Some of them settled down in those countries, owning properties and becoming part of the population. The rate of settlement of Europeans in Eastern and Southern Africa meant that the African population witnessed firsthand the injustice of colonialism. Apartheid is a case at hand. This kind of system of oppression cannot but call for a form of reaction. Even strong reaction like this probably explains why some Africans have either anger or fear towards Europeans. But to a large extent, it is Africans that are generally being discriminated against, rather than Africans discriminating against other races. More Africans have been on the receiving end of racism than on the giving end. Why such a topic, Pastor Sunday? In the title of this opening chapter, there are two words that should catch your eyes. One is the word racism, which I have already addressed above, while the other word is tribalism. To my European audience, that word might not be too familiar. Tribalism is a term that is more locally used in Africa when describing the unequal relational interactions between the various neighboring tribes. Tribalism is defined as loyalty to a tribe or other social group, especially when combined with strong negative feelings for people outside the group. Now, what prompted me to address this topic, especially of tribalism, to my dear African audience and anybody reading this book, especially Nigerians, is because of the manipulation in the use of the word which has become prevalent recently. As I keep on writing my books on different issues connected to social and economic political questions, I sometimes have to touch on issues concerning my native land, Nigeria. I have noticed a tendency from the letters and responses that come each time that I touch on some sensitive national issues. This sentiment is largely coming from a segment of our society accusing me of being a tribalist. At first glance, you could think there may be some accuracy in this accusation, especially bearing in mind that Nigeria is a country with over 516 tribes and 521 languages. It becomes more troubling, however, when it is only one of the 516 tribes and 521 languages that keep on complaining about the same thing. That is a little bit suspicious, leading me personally to think that this is the work of stereotypes, brainwashing and indelible memories. In the beginning of this opening chapter, I spoke about the fact that Nigerians don't understand racism. More so, they tend to look down on people who use race as an excuse or reason for their failures. If you have related with Nigerians, you will find that they don't believe they are worse than anybody else. They also don't blame racism or other historical facts for their failures. For example, when Nigerians see the black population of America putting the blame for their lack of success on slavery or racism, the average Nigerian will normally abhor that argument. The typical Nigerian attitude is that even if you are brought as a slave to another country, you should be so good and do so well so that you outperform the very citizens of the land. That is the attitude of Nigerians. Most Nigerians don't care how you bring them to America, or Europe, with or without documents. They will prove to you at the end of the day that nobody is better than they are, even the citizens of the land. To now begin to blame historical events that occurred 100 or 200 years back is not the habit of Nigerians. This is one aspect of racism that Nigerians will never understand. This attitude of Nigerians to the question of racism changes sharply, however, when it comes to the domestic questions about tribalism. In my opinion, Nigerians have also fallen victim of what they accuse other people of in regards to racism, especially outside the country. Within Nigeria, it is like we have been bewitched into blaming almost everything that is wrong in our society on tribalism. This blame game results primarily from the ignorance of many Nigerians in understanding and celebrating the beauty in our diversity, because as you will read throughout the pages of this book, Nigeria is an exclusively diverse nation. Even as I write this now, some people are ready to quit reading this book. Others are raining curses on me already, believing that I am ignorant. Some will think my position is dictated by the fact that I come from one of the major and most privileged tribes in Nigeria. As I have said above, Nigeria is blessed with 516 tribes, of which 3 are the dominant ones: Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. Bearing in mind the above reality of things in Nigeria, it seems obvious that there would be complaints of tribalism from the minority groups, especially those that are not in the top 3. Yet the funny thing is that usually, it is the 3 main privileged tribes that keep on accusing each other of tribalism and discrimination. Before I continue my deliberation on this topic, let me take you, dear readers, back to an experience that opened my eyes to see how blessed Nigeria is as a nation. Thanks to a large number of nationalities and tribes we have in our country. The beauty of diversity. When I was growing up in my 40-hut village of Adomila, western part of Nigeria, the most I had traveled was to our state capital of Abeokuta, just a few minutes away. My experience of Nigeria's diversity did not even reach the then nation's capital Lagos, which was only 2 hours away. My concept of Nigeria was limited to the village talk of the elders and the local wise men. What they said was the truth to be believed by all and sundry. There was no need for research or establishment of historical facts. News told, rumors heard, truth implied, facts buried. Toba Beta. So growing up, when I heard that the problem of Nigeria is the North, talking of the Hausa Fulani tribe of our nation, I did not even think of it. I did not even consider questioning it. On the other hand, when I was told that Hausa Fulani had ruled Nigeria for most of our independence, I swallowed the gossip without any questions. Recent research, however, claims that even though Fulanis have ruled Nigeria, or a mixture of Fulani and Hausa, it has been discovered that Hausas have never ruled Nigeria before. Even though they are about 20% of Nigeria's population. Another largely believed rumor says that Hausa is the largest tribe in Nigeria, while in the real sense they are second to Yorubas, who are the biggest singular monogenic group of tribe in Nigeria. Fulanis are only about 9%, Yorubas 21%, Hausa 20% and Igbos 18%, Ijaw 10%, Kanuri 4%, others are minority groups. Of all these groups, let's examine which tribes of the 521 have ruled Nigeria before. 1. Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Middle Belt Bauchi, 1960 to 1966, Bageri tribe from Safawa dynasty. 2. Namdi Azikiwe, 1960 to 1966. 3. Major General Aguiyi Ironsi, Abia, July 29, 1966, Igbo. 4. General Yakubu Gowon, Middle Belt Plateau, 1966 to 1975. Muhammad, Middle Belt Plateau, 1975, February 1976, Beram Tribe. 6. General Olusegun Obasanjo, Ogun, 1976 to 1979. 8. General Muhammadu Buhari, Katsina, 1983 to 1985, 2015 date, Fulani. 9. General Ibrahim Babangida Badamasi, Middle Belt Niger, 1985. General Sani Abacha, Borno, Chad, 1993 to 1998, Kanuri tribe. 12. General Abdusalami Abubakar, Middle Belt Niger, 1998–1999. Musa Yar'Adua, Katsina, 2007 to 2010, Fulani. 15. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, Bielsa, 2010 to 2014, Ijaw, Igbo. According to these statistics, we can see that there is no need for the kind of speculation and hatred that is being circulated in my part of the country. As a matter of fact, most people in the western part of Nigeria still believe that the problem of Nigeria is the Hausa. Meanwhile, the statistics above show that no Hausa has ever ruled Nigeria. The people who complain most about the Hausas are the people I come from, the Yorubas. They have ruled Nigeria most of all. Yorubas have ruled Nigeria for 12 years, Igbos have ruled Nigeria for 6.5 years, Fulanis have ruled Nigeria for a little above 5 years. Others are from minority groups. But when our society is more reliant on rumors, village talk, and tales rather than on facts and research, we end up having a society of sentiments, hatred, and purported tribalism. According to the information above, if anyone is supposed to complain, the complaints should come from the over 500 tribes that have never gotten a chance to rule the country. What I am trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that when we rely more on rumors, gainsayings, folktales, we risk the danger of destroying the beauty and harmony of diversity. The diversity of our Nigerian nation is such a beauty, a glorious demonstration of God's very own nature. Yet when diversity is not appreciated, it is abused and perverted. Celebrate diversity, practice acceptance, and may we all choose peaceful options to conflict. Donzella Michelle Malone. If Nigeria had not consisted of these over 500 tribes, we would not have been as big and great as we are today. Today, Nigeria is the 7th most populous country in the world and could soon become the 3rd most populous in a number of years to come, between the year 2030 to 2050. What that means is that Nigeria could soon overtake countries like the USA, Japan, Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. At times we underestimate the power of the population. Friends, despise the size of a nation to your own detriment. The size of a nation plays a vital role in their positioning in the world. For example, no small nation can ever become a superpower. This is not an assumption, this is a fact. Have you ever wondered why countries like Sweden, Switzerland, Austria, Singapore, Denmark, Belgium, or other countries that are rich countries per capita are not superpower nations? It is because it is not the amount of money each citizen earns that determines the status and might of a nation. No matter how prosperous a small nation is, it is already limited if it has a small population. There is no way a small population could compete in production capacity with large countries with bigger populations. This explains the reason why, despite the fact that Nigeria is a third world country, our economy is bigger than the economies of some so-called first world countries like Belgium, Norway, Austria, Denmark, Israel, Hong Kong, Singapore, Greece, Portugal, Romania, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Czech Republic, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, etc. Our economy is fast heading to be one of the top 20 in the world despite all our troubles and challenges. Can you just begin to imagine what might happen when things begin to work for Nigeria? Our economy could easily double or triple if only the electricity supply would be constant. If we deal with the questions of infrastructure, we could be talking of Nigeria as being in the top 10 economies of the world. This is all thanks to the fact that we have a big population. The credit goes to all the tribes that make up Nigeria as one nation. Another reason why countries with a large population should never be disregarded in this world is because these countries can easily become military superpowers. That is why European countries like Sweden, Belgium cannot be military superpowers while poorer countries per capita like India, Pakistan possesses nuclear weapons. It is also for the same reason that while India was able to launch missions to outer space and the moon, it is still poorer per capita than those European countries. Dear Nigerians, our population is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to us. Our population is our trump card. If we had not had the population we have, things would have been desperate for us. It is a pity that Nigerians talk more about tribalism and other things dividing us instead of celebrating the beauty and the majesty we possess. Thanks to the fact that we are together. It is a pity that some parts of Nigeria now talk of breaking away. It is a shame that some Nigerians now see fellow Nigerians as enemies. It is unacceptable that there is now fights of independent people of Biafra, herdsmen, Fulani cattle rustlers, Adudwa Republic agitators all over the land. This is unacceptable. All is aimed at bringing down one of the countries that has the capacity of becoming one of the greatest in the world, just by the diversity of size and population alone. Just for comparison, let's assume that the United States of America did not have the population it has, let's say it had only 30 million people. There is no way they would have become the superpower of the world that they are today, neither economically nor militarily. Small nations don't become superpowers, not economically or militarily. That is why when America was smaller and consisted of only 13 states, they embarked on a mission of buying and taking over more lands and territories for the purpose of becoming a superpower in the future. That is what led to the addition of other territories like Texas, California, Florida, Puerto Rico, to the entity of the United States of America, making them a supernation on the earth. Can you imagine Russia being a superpower without its population? When Russia was a superpower, there were about 300 million people as well. After losing half of that population, Russia is no more the same anymore, even though they are still a large nation of almost 150 million people. As the case may be, if Russia had 10 million or 20 million people, their production capacity would not have been able to pull them through to becoming a superpower. Only large populations create large economies. There are many factors that make great nations great. The most important of those factors is the population. Are you not glad that Nigeria has that in abundance? Apart from the production power of a huge population like China, there is also the vantage position of their purchasing power. Still taking China, for example, people used to say China has the largest number of poor people in the world, but that was only a matter of time. In fact, right now, the events of the last few decades and the rapid development of the Chinese economy has left no one in doubt that China indeed is the future of our world. It is on its way to overcoming the USA to become the strongest and largest economy in the world. It is just a matter of time. The same thing with India. Even though there is a large number of poor people in India today, it also has one of the largest number of millionaires, the same as China. Today India, despite the fact that it is a developing country, now ranks as the fourth largest economy in the world. It is all thanks to their population. Nigeria and Nigerians, therefore, should be rejoicing and bragging about the good fortune to have managed to bring together so many diverse nations under one umbrella. Have you ever heard of the European Union coming together? Do you think they had no reason in doing that? No, my friends, it is because they know the power and the strength of diversity. They know the place of the population in human development. Small nations, even if they are 50, scattered all over Europe, are weak and defeatable without the strength of a combined population. We don't need to begin to go through that process of bringing tribes and ethnic groups together. It is already done for us either by chance or default. Whatever the case might be, Nigerians should be some of the most hopeful people on the planet, especially if we get our act together politically and economically. It is my firm belief that our nation Nigeria is just on the verge of announcing her arrival on the world stage as the rising sun of the new age. This is not the time for us to begin to use tribalism to pull ourselves down. It is not the time for us to begin to lay emphasis on our old and outdated stereotypes, blaming one tribe or the other for all the woes of our nation. Am I a tribalist? To those who traditionally blame tribalism for any opinion that differs from theirs, I say it is a pity. I see that each time I express a political position that is my personal belief, some people come back at me, attacking my personality and calling me a tribalist. The argument of tribalism seems to be the only one left when people are weak, devoid of facts and simply sentimental. Those who resolve to blaming tribes for the political losses are simply unknowingly pulling down the bricks of strength that our nation stands on. Let us learn to be gallant losers. We should not blame our political misfortunes on other people's sound judgment. The president of Nigeria at the time of writing this book is not a Yoruba man. I supported him during his campaign to be president only because I saw by the facts of his life compared to other candidates that he was honest. He seemed at the time to be the most qualified person to bring our nation out of the political and economic devastation we found ourselves in the last decade. I supported his vice, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, only because I have the privilege of knowing him personally. His qualities are impeccable, and he seemed as well to be the most qualified to be in that position at the time based on his pedigree. Not because he is a Yoruba man. Whether they have lived up to that trust during their tenure is a question they have to answer and a debate for another day. Therefore, I cannot be a tribalist, at least judging by my antecedents. This is not an attempt of self-defense, it's just a fact of the matter. 1. How could you accuse a man that is the only black man in the world with the largest number of followership from another race and culture of being a tribalist? 2. How can you accuse a man of racism and tribalism when he is the only person in the whole world who pastors the largest cross-cultural congregation? 3. How can I be a tribalist when my premier and my most prominent Nigerian disciple is not from my tribe? He is an Igbo man called Professor Vincent Anigbogu from Anambra State. 4. How can I be a tribalist when my best friends are not even from my tribe? People like Pastor Tony Rapu, John Enalama. 5. How can I be a tribalist when in my house we have so many Nigerians stopping over and living, who are not even from my tribe? 6. How can I be a tribalist when I don't even speak my tribal, Yoruba, language anymore because I have refrained from speaking in the midst of others so that I will not appear to be discriminatory all my life? 7. How can I be a tribalist when I addressed the United Nations where all nations are present? 8. How can I be a tribalist when my church consists of 99% white Europeans? 9. How can I be a tribalist when I spoke at the Israeli parliament Knesset to Jews who don't look like people from my tribe? 10. How can I be a racist when I was welcomed to speak in the United States Senate? 11. How can I be a tribalist when I was invited to speak in the Japanese parliament? 12. How can I be a tribalist when my immediate assistants including domestic staff are not even related to my tribe, race or nationality? My drivers are Europeans, my security guards are Europeans, my kitchen staff are Europeans, and my pastors are Europeans. How can I possibly be a tribalist? 13. How can I be a tribalist when my disciples, sons, and daughters are from 50 different countries of the world? 14. How can I be a tribalist, when my books are printed in different countries of the world and various languages including Chinese, Japanese, etc. Yet they are not in my native Yoruba language. 15. How can I be a tribalist when none of my 3 children speak Yoruba? When my son was given the option of choosing a Nigerian language to learn, he chose Igbo. He was good at it and got 93% in his exam. He still doesn't speak the Yoruba language. Achievement has no color. Abraham Lincoln. Ladies and gentlemen, what I am trying to say in this book is, let us quit using racism and tribalism as a cover-up for our weaknesses. Let us stop emphasizing on things that divide us as a nation, as a people group, and as ethnic groups. Let us acknowledge the grace of God which has made it possible for different people groups to live together under one nation. If you are a Nigerian reading this book, I want to appeal to you to begin to celebrate the enormous advantage we have in our diversity. Let us begin to see the positive sides of our various tribal groups. Let us begin to give God the glory for our future and let go of our past. Yes, a lot of things have been done wrong in our history, but let us move forward to build a more glorious and prosperous country for posterity. Shall we now begin to celebrate our diversity from the next chapter? 1. It is not just that Nigerians are not racists, in fact, more often they don't even understand what racism is all about. 2. Nigerians were used to blaming themselves and not Europeans for their plight. 3. Whatever you say about Nigerians, their questions were not questions of race, but questions of honor, respect, and dignity. 4. Even though Nigeria was a colony of Great Britain, yet not too many Nigerians felt the presence of European oppression personally. 5. Tribalism is a term that is more locally used in Africa when describing the unequal relational interactions between the various neighboring tribes. 6. The typical Nigerian attitude is that even if you are brought as a slave to another country, you should be so good and do so well so that you outperform the very citizens of the land. 7. The diversity of our Nigerian nation is such a beauty, a glorious demonstration of God's very own nature. 8. If we deal with the questions of infrastructure, we could be talking of Nigeria as being in the top 10 economies of the world. Chapter 2. Nigeria's diversity. The greater the diversity, the greater the perfection. Thomas Berry. Understanding diversity. Every country has its own prioritized metrics for development, even though there are established universal standards. Often, these self-prioritized standards are not written on stone, but they are easy to see from a distance if you simply observe the activities of a nation. The activities can be peculiar to the state as an independent entity or based on her relationship with the outside world. That's why North Korea may care less about what the world says about her and the way she seems to treat her people. While smaller countries which you can easily guess will dance to the tune of the international community to gain favors. Considering this fact of personalized and universal standards, it's important that we dispel ambiguities and fully grasp the concept of diversity in relation to political entities, say countries. In other words, what do we really mean when we say a country is diverse? There are two sides to this. First, on the surface the meaning of diversity is intuitive. You'll probably have used or come across the word on a number of non-political occasions. For example, we talk about biodiversity when we refer to the abundance of plant and animal species scattered across a geographical space as small as the Vatican City or as large as the planet itself. Scientists like to explore the plant and animal kingdoms and report on their beauty and relevance, which they alone probably see. Perhaps not they alone, because even the United Nations set aside May 22 to focus on biological diversity every year. So, basically, diversity refers to a multiplicity of types. We can have a racially diverse community, an economically diverse state, a culturally diverse nation, a religiously diverse people, and much more. In this sense, we mean that there are many different races in the community, many different economic activities in the state, many different cultures in the nation, and many different religions amongst the people, respectively. From this perspective, it's easy for us to call diverse in certain respects many societies we have been to or heard of. For example, very easily, we can say that America is racially diverse because of the many different races in the country. The U.S. government officially recognizes white Americans, black or African Americans, American Indians, and Alaska Natives, Asians, and Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islander as the racial types in the country. These make America a place of many races. As for Nigeria, our many different ethnic groups and delicacies are examples of diversity. Nigerian has over 250 ethnic groups, and each has its own delicacy, even though some form of intersection occurs in many instances. For this reason, it's easy for you to see that Nigeria is at least ethnically diverse. Going a step further, there's another sense of the word diversity that today's world is apparently more interested in. When you read about diversity, it's in this other sense most authors communicate their message to their readers. The reason is not far-fetched, as I'll explain shortly. So, what is this more important sense of the word diversity? Simply put, it's acknowledgement. The first sense of diversity is mere awareness. This deeper sense is a step further than mere awareness because acknowledgement is intentional. When you acknowledge something, it propels you to take certain actions as a necessity or as situation may demand of you. On the other hand, mere awareness may become a forgotten fact. For instance, if you sell groceries in your community, you may be aware that a few other people also sell groceries in the same community. Because you're merely aware of this, it may not bother you much or influence anything you do. But the day you decide to acknowledge them as the competitors they really are to your business, that day you'll do many things differently. They will now influence your entire business operations and strategies. You probably know this as simple business dynamics. Your competitors are in the same market, your community in this case, to get the attention of the same people you want to sell to. Acknowledging this fact simply helps you survive in the business. Let's drive this point home. In your day-to-day interaction with people, you probably come across people who are not from your ethnic group or of a different religion. Virtually every Nigerian is aware of this reality, but not many acknowledge it as a fact. Do you behave in ways that are insensitive to the sentiments of people you meet every day, not caring whether they're of the same ethnicity or religion with you? Is it a habit for you to treat people only based on your ethnic and religious preferences? If the answer to the two questions is in the affirmative, then you have not yet acknowledged ethnic and religious diversity. On the other hand, if you acknowledge that your ethnicity and religion are not the only ones in the country, then you would make it a duty to respect others and consider not offending them, a basic rule of living. If you do this, and I do it, and most of the other people do it, then we can say that we are diverse in the acknowledgement sense of the word. Diversity in an acknowledgement sense means you respect the fact that there's a multiplicity of types and then modify your behavior to accommodate that reality. This is what most authors are interested in when they talk about diversity. In later chapters, I'll make many deeper analyses in this sense of the word. How diverse is Nigeria? As I put the spotlight on Nigeria, the concept of diversity which I have established earlier makes it easier for you to ascertain whether the country is really diverse. Clearly, the country has a multiplicity of types in many aspects. Let's examine a few important ones. Biodiversity. On the surface, the average Nigerian is unaware that, and less concerned whether there's such a thing as biological diversity. Did you know that Nigeria is actually biologically diverse? According to the 5th Biodiversity Report of 2015, Nigerians, in fact, recognize unconsciously and enjoy biodiversity in several ways. The nation's biodiversity constitutes the source of food, raw materials, a wide range of goods and services and genetic materials for agriculture, medicines and healthcare support, domestic and commercial products. Aesthetics and cultural values. Whether we realize it or not, we value this biodiversity in the areas of food, food products, and agriculture, as well as domestic and commercial products. Both urban and rural dwellers depend on this biodiversity for survival and rich nutrition. It's the reason we have various foods like a snail, bush meat, fish, various vegetables and herbal plants. According to this same report, the biodiversity of the coastal area of the Niger Delta provides a characteristic spectrum of seafood sources. Some collection of swamp forest vegetables and the tropical rainforest belt that cuts across southern Nigeria provides a huge base for food resources, for commercial and domestic use. The Guinea savanna woodlands of Nigeria are still rich in wildlife. Apart from bush meat, the savanna woodlands provide a variety of its unique fruit trees and vegetables of various types. The Sudan savanna, apart from providing food and fodder for grazing livestock, also has a huge supply of wildlife. Nigeria has a wide range of palm species that are of significance to food and drink needs of millions of Nigerians. Nigeria's vast inland water systems including rivers, lakes, floodplains and streams support both natural and agricultural biodiversity for food production and wild resource exploitation. There's also an abundance of fish species which provides food for millions of Nigerians. While fisheries is a viable economic option for many Nigerians. Finally, Nigeria serves as home to many crop species including yam, rice, and groundnuts. We rejoice about all these natural provisions daily, calling them Nigeria's blessings. Indirectly, we have been rejoicing about biodiversity. Therefore, it's easy to say that Nigeria is a diverse country in terms of biology. However, we're as a people more concerned about the kind of multiplicity of types which threaten our coexistence and peace day in, day out. This will bring us shortly to the more socially prominent and palpable diversities, ethnicity, culture, and religion. It is about these subjects authors mostly write because they are indeed critical to the survival of the nation. Globally rare, locally present. Nigeria is blessed with some animal and plant species which can hardly be found anywhere else in the entire world. They indirectly point to the country's geographical and biological uniqueness. A prime example of such a rare animal is the fox's shaggy rat, which is found only in Nigeria. Its kind of habitat is available in certain places Nigeria, even though its continuity as a species is becoming slimmer because of habitat erosion. Other examples of such rare animals with a habitat loss threat are savanna swamp shrew and the Niger Delta red colobus, a monkey which is also threatened by hunting. There is also a bird in southwestern Nigeria, called Ibadan malimbe, which is no longer common as it used to be. You will also find a few forest geckos and worm lizards, and worm snake. Some aquatic species are also found in Nigeria and rarely elsewhere, most notably some catfish species. The list goes on to include spider, e.g., Smeringopona Ibadan, butterfly, e.g., Accra Kaduna, and ant, e.g., Cardiocondyla yoruba. These rare animals are generally referred to as being endemic to Nigeria, meaning you can only find them in Nigeria. Not only are there animals endemic to Nigeria, but there are also numerous plant species which can be found only in Nigeria, for example, the Impatiens nigeriensis. Nigeria must urgently protect these eroding species and bring them to the fore of our national life. God gifted us with this diversity, and they must not be lost. We must celebrate this uniqueness of Nigeria and showcase them to the world. Perhaps we can create a different zoo or botanical gardens that the peoples of the world may come and see, that which is present in Nigeria and nowhere else. Surely, we have so much that God has given to us in Nigeria. Ethnicity and culture. Is Nigeria ethnically diverse? A country of more than 250 ethnic groups speaking at least as many different languages cannot possibly be mono-labeled. Beyond the dominant Hausa, Igbo and Yoruba ethnic groups which the rest of the world sees first, there are many more ethnic minorities spread across the country. Even within the major and minor ethnic groups, there are subgroups which make matters more complicated yet beautiful. These subgroups are usually in the form of dialects. The Yoruba culture has several dialects, for instance, and experts estimate them to be in the range of about 10 to about 30. This include Oyo, Ijesha, Ila, Ijebu, Ondo, Oo. Jumu, Awaro, Igbona, Yagba, Bed, Egba, Akono, Awaro, Bunu, Bini, Akiti, Alaje, Akale, Awari. Yoruba is spoken by approximately 18,850,000 people in Nigeria. The total population of native speakers in all countries is about 20 million. Now consider the fact that each ethnic group has its unique culture which in many cases also has slight variations across existing subgroups. Interestingly, variations are only increasing by the day as cultural erosion gradually takes its toll by foreign cultural invasion facilitated through young people and their love for trending pop culture. Cultural diversity is one of the most interesting aspects of our diversity, but it's so unfortunate that we are blind to the fun attached to our diversity. It is disheartening that other than exploring the interests that make others distinct, we look for the slightest opportunity to castigate. If only you could realize how valuable time is often wasted on social relations that are not progressive, when in fact you could utilize this time to spread your tentacles to unlimited regions, learn the way of life of different people, and realize the joy, fun, and opportunities there is beyond your zone. According to the Center for Advanced Research on Language Acquisition, CALA, culture is the shared patterns of behaviors and interactions, cognitive constructs and effective understanding that are learned through a process of socialization. Geert Hofstede, a popular expert on culture, defines culture as the collective programming of the mind which distinguishes the members of one category of people from another. See the similarities in both definitions. It is not an isolated pattern, it is collective, it is shared, it is a transgenerational norm, a social belief, and a perceived custom. Note that in the latter definition by Geert Hofstede, he says, it distinguishes, he doesn't say, it separates. Why then have we decided to separate ourselves from others just because they adhere strictly to a norm? Why castigate someone over a belief that has been handed over for years? I will explore the cultural diversity that is experienced in the major languages Hausa, Yoruba and Igbo, and touch a few other languages like Edo, Agede, Fulani, Ebira, and Calabar Efik. Our culture extends to the kind of food we consume, it determines what we term abominable or acceptable. Therefore it is not wise to lash out because a neighbor says he cannot consume snake because it is restricted in his culture. Just consume it in peace since it is acceptable in your own culture. Rather than screech because someone says killing of rat is abominable, just accept that as the belief the person has imbibed. Diversity is the soul of beauty, you cannot talk about beautification and neglect diversification. Cultural diversity among the Hausa people. The Hausa tribe is a diverse but culturally homogeneous people based primarily in the Sahelian and Sudanian areas of northern Nigeria, with the greatest population found in northwestern Nigeria. The Hausa tribe is very rich when it comes to food, and their most common foods include grains such as millet, rice, maize, and sorghum. These are ground into flour for the food we popularly refer to as tuwo, which they consume with soups such as taushe, kaka, dagadij, etc. Ground beans cakes called kosai, or wheat flour fried and eaten with a sugar called fankasau, which can be eaten as breakfast with porridge and sugar called cocoa. You are surrounded by so many things you are not aware of, so that all you need to do is explore, don't spend time gossiping or fighting other tribes. Don't waste time castigating, invest your time to gain knowledge, learn about other people, know them and learn to accept them for their uniqueness. The Hausas have the popular grilled beef delicacies such as suya and kalishi. Cow milk known as nunu can be taken with fura which they call fura de nunu. They also have plenty of root vegetables such as onions, carrots, spring onions, and the likes. Are you bored of the sly meals you take regularly? Here is an opportunity for you to explore these meals. Do not discard people from afar, you need to embrace them and get to see their essence. What about the dressing? The Hausa people have a very restricted dressing code which is particularly due to their religious beliefs. The men wear large flowing gowns known as baban riga, and a robe-like dress with designs called galabia or wani. The men may or may not wear caps known as fula, and the women ladies are identified by their wrappers called abaya, blouses, head ties, shawls, and hijabs. The women wear weaves as the common hairstyles, and they use jewelry, ornaments, and paintings a great deal. The lali or henna paintings and drawings are also an indispensable part of their makeup. The Hausas are also known for prominent tribal marks which they draw mainly on the face and sometimes on other parts of the body with the basic purpose of identification. Early marriage and polygamy are very common amongst the Hausas. The Hausas present the Igbos and the Yorubas a world they are not yet aware of. They present a certain aspect of beauty and nature that cannot be found anywhere else. Hence, we all as Nigerians must accept the beauty in the diversity among the Hausas. We must all accept it, celebrate it and enjoy it. When will you make a Hausa delicacy? Cultural diversity among the Yoruba people. In Nigeria, the Yoruba dominate the western part of the country. They are well known for their strong desire for peace and unity at home and in the diaspora. They are a group that is very rich in culture and traditions which include lifestyle, religion, dressings, beliefs and likes. Ethics is a vital aspect of the culture because we believe that this aspect is highly essential to every individual's life. Talk about foods. And you cannot elude that which is generally termed green soup. The Yorubas call it udu. It can be taken with another soup called begiri, beans soup, which can be accompanied with either pounded yam, fufu, semo or eba. Although their food varieties are quite limited, you can't avoid mentioning the egusi soup, efo riro, ilo asepo, etc. The Yoruba have a peculiarity of clothes which is referred to as aso ibile. There was a time abante was used. Now we have materials made from aso oke, the likes of etu, petuje, san and yan, alari, and so on. For men's wear, they have buba, esiki, sapara, dandogo, agbada, barie, sulia, and ayala. To the Yorubas, a man's dressing is incomplete without the cap. For the women, ladies, the most common is the iro and buba, which is incomplete without the headgear to accompany it. In the Yoruba's marriage, payment of bride price is often returned as the parents believe they are not selling out their children. We are so enriched with diverse beliefs and cultures according to the group involved. Explore, embrace and promote the extent of diversity. Cultural diversity among the Igbo people. The Igbo are the second largest group of people living in southern Nigeria, technically the southeast. Although Igbos are mostly Christians today, they have a deep and original culture. You talk about meals in the Igbo culture. And you can't escape the popular akpu, with uha soup, ofe onugbu, okra soup, nkwobi chicken, abacha, ugba, jakwu. You cannot separate a typical Igbo, and their beef. Also, ili body art was also used to decorate both men and women in the form of lines forming patterns and shapes on the body for men. The traditional attire is made up of isiagu top, worn with a traditional title holder's hat named okpuagu, or with the traditional Igbo stripped man's hat. For the woman you have an embodied puffed sleeve blouse along with 2 wrappers, and a headscarf. It is easy to see an Igbo man in the traditional cap and despise him or think less of him. But the cap is so important to them because it symbolizes authority. You don't get all judgmental and irritated by a behavior which has become a norm for some people. First know the mystery behind it, because, in truth, most of our diversified natures are all mystical. Undeniably, the traditional marriage in Igbo land is a whole bunch of festivities. A lot of items are demanded by the bride's family, the dowry, tubers of yam, and bags of rice, amongst others. The culture of the Igbo is highly rich, but there is a traceable history to every norm and tradition, remember. So don't abuse just because you see a long list at a wedding ceremony. We hear statements like, are they selling the daughter? Are they using the opportunity to earn money? Behind every culture lies a traceable history. Explore and embrace every culture, also accept everyone as they come. At the end of the day, we all are Nigerians, we are untied, and our diversity is our strength. Cultural diversity among the Edo people. The Edo people occupy the south, midwestern Nigeria with ethnic groups like Esan, Afamai, among others. You cannot separate the coral beads from the Edo people. The beads are of 2 kinds, ivy and eken. The males have a dressing mode which involves a flowing agbada made with ankara, voile, lace, and other materials. For some traditional rites, the white wrapper is usually tied around the waist adorned with the coral beads. The traditional cuisine of the Edo people is representative of what is obtained in most southern states of Nigeria. Pounded yam or eba is eaten with vegetable, melon or okro soups cooked with bush meat, beef or fish. Also, there is yam and rice served with varieties of soup and meat or fish, rice and beans, yam and cocoyam porridge, amala, starch, pepper soup, fufu, and banga soup. The Edo people have been able to create one of the most glamorous marriage ceremonies in Nigeria. The groom's family decides what to present to the bride's mother as well as other members of the family. And also the amount to be paid as dowry will be finalized and arranged. Until we deliberately remove the mist that covers our eyes, we will remain ignorant of the richness that surrounds our diversity. Cultural diversity among the Egede people. This is a group that is gradually expanding and dominating coasts, making known their relevance, but the rate at which they have been easily overlooked and ignored is disheartening. There is no ethnic group that is better than the other. No culture should be more prioritized than another. We all are made unique because of the numerous diversities which so define us. The Egede people are the third largest ethnic group in present-day Benue State. And a large number of Egede people are dispersed across the state and the nation. They are predominantly farmers cultivating maize, cassava, groundnut, and yams. When it comes to food, there is no doubt that the Egede people have one of the most variety of food. Some of the meals include pounded yam, and benized soup, oho nihia, ahile, egbe nyichwo, egbe, bitter leaf soup, melon soup, groundnut soup, otiache, and okro soup. You don't have to be a millionaire to marry an Egede person. The groom brings kolanut and palm wine to the lady's parent, after which he pays the bride price. The Egede cultural attire has three colors: the blue, white and black cultural dress. While the blue color emblematizes peace, the white color depicts purity, and the black color emblematizes agriculture. Before you go ahead to conclude about the beliefs of a group, learn first to explore the diversities they present. Surely you will be exposed to the beauty they present and not see them as a threat. Cultural diversity among the Fulani people. The main religion of these people is Islam. We have both the pastoral and the settled Fulani, and their major language is Fulfud. The dress codes and styles vary greatly. However, married men and women follow the Islamic dress code, which prescribes modesty. The men wear large gowns, trousers, and caps. Women wear wraps and blouses. Married women wear veils when they leave their household. They braid their hair and adorn themselves with jewelry and headdresses. The Fulani diet usually includes milk products such as yogurt, milk, and butter. They drink milk or gruel, gari, made with sorghum. Their main meals consist of a heavy porridge, nyeri, made of flour from such grains as millet, sorghum or corn. They eat it with soup, takai, hako, made from tomatoes, onions, spices, peppers and other vegetables. The Fulani today are among the most castigated tribes in Nigeria. This is quite unfortunate. The dominant crisis of the herdsmen and cattle rustlers ought not to be. The cattleman and the local farmer actually present a rare opportunity for agriculture in the land. With the proposal of cattle ranches across the country by the government, we can have a system of farming across every state in Nigeria which gives us a unique farming system. The farmers can sell feed to the cattle rearers while the cattle, in turn, generate manure from the ranches. When we fail to acknowledge and celebrate diversity, that which ought to be our blessing becomes a curse. Cultural diversity among the Ebira people. The Ebira people are the most outspoken, talented and hard-working people of Kogi State in Nigeria. Their basic occupations are farming and cloth weaving. They have a unique marriage celebration. The family of the groom presents gift items to the family of the bride, which can include 42 tubers of yam, dried, bush meat, palm oil. salt, assorted wines, and kolanut. The bride price to be paid depends largely on the financial strength of the man. The Ebira people are predominantly Christians. They have a customary food called a papa. It looks like moi moi but has a different color and is very rich in protein than moi moi. Other foods include uka, ia, eva, eba, and ova. Most of the dressing consist of their woven clothes, which gave rise to the revised aso oke for the Yoruba. Think you are a solid lover of woven clothes, and you abhor the Ebira people. I believe you should have a rethink. The Ebira people provide Nigeria with some of the best woven materials in Nigeria. Cultural diversity among the Calabar people. The Calabar people are located in southeastern Nigeria. Calabar is a city in Akwa Ibom and is highly recognized as an international seaport, shipping out goods such as palm oil. The people are regarded as Efik people, and it is highly recognized for its artistic setting, diversified cuisines, and dress sense. Their main occupation is agriculture. Some of the numerous dishes are edikang akong soup, white soup, ekpan nkukwo. Their marriage procedure is endearing and could be innovated upon by divers groups. 6 months before the slated date, the bride is made to go through diverse training processes, home management, food preparation, training concerning matters of sex and the likes. Their main religion is Christianity. They have a high dress sense fashioned from their indigenous materials. This group, like the Edo group, have been tagged as being promiscuous by the parochial and highly tribalized Nigerians. Indeed, every tribe now has a negative tag from other Nigerians. This idea of tagging others is highly uncivilized and uncalled for. In referring to the Calabar people, you hear statements like they are sexually active, highly knowledgeable about cuisines, but from all the trainings they receive, one wouldn't expect anything short. When talking about diversity in Nigeria, it is impossible not to mention diversity in terms of our culture, and we should realize this is what makes us Nigeria. This is what attracts foreigners to our land. And they have seen something we intentionally don't want to see and have transformed it to their advantage, increasing their knowledge. We need to get informed, transformed, and reformed. We need to celebrate the beauty in Nigeria's diversity, especially in our culture. Religion. Thinking further, we cannot ignore Nigeria's religious diversity. You may ask, how many religions do we have in Nigeria to qualify us as religiously diverse? The answer is simple. Truly, Christianity and Islam are the major religions in Nigeria. However, apart from the indigenous religions of ethnic groups, the variations in Christianity alone are enough to qualify Nigeria as religiously diverse. The major categories are Anglican Church, Roman Catholic Church, Methodist Church, Pentecostals, Charismatics, Cherubim and Seraphim, and others. Quite a few, you might say. But when you dig deeper into the Pentecostal circle alone, you would be baffled by doctrinal multiplicity which distinguishes church from church across the nation. At the end of the day, you would wonder whether all these churches are not best referred to as quite unique religions instead of the confusing "one Church of Jesus Christ" narrative. In southwestern Nigeria, the Yorubas have various traditional religions. Some of them include Ogun, Sango, Osun, Obatala, Esu, Orance, and many others. These religions are still practiced by many Yorubas, even though some Yorubas only participate in some form when the festivals of the religions are held. Some of these religions require blood sacrifices to be made, while all of them as expected are characterized by the worship of inanimate objects like trees, water, wooden sculptures, iron, certain animals, and many other objects. Apart from the dominant Christianity and Islam in Nigeria, some other foreign religions are gradually penetrating the religious cycle of the nation. For example, Indian Hindu immigrants who are mainly in Lagos are gaining numbers in followership. Their numbers are running into tens of thousands already. And as usual, it will take only significant, steady evangelical efforts for them to continue expanding. There is also the Grail movement, which many Nigerians find hard to categorize. In fact, the movement does not describe itself as a religion in the usual sense, nor a sect. It's been in the country for only a few decades, with a core belief that people reap what they sow. Is Nigeria diverse indeed? So far, we've discussed diversity in the sense of the multiplicity of types. The bigger question now is whether Nigeria is diverse in the sense of acknowledgement explained earlier. We can draw a cue from what most scholars mean when they describe a nation as diverse. You will note that Nigeria has not yet got to that point where she has truly acknowledged her diversity indeed. In the existence of multiplicity of types, we magnify our differences daily. We seize every opportunity to remind our neighbors that we're first from our ethnic backgrounds before we're from Nigeria. We remind ethnic and tribal outsiders in employment matters that family must come first. We're quick to blindly take sides with our religious fellows when there's a cross-religious misunderstanding. We're just too conscious of our differences than we realize our commonalities. On these bases, we cannot yet say that we're a diverse nation indeed, except only in the sense of the multiplicity of types. If you must celebrate Nigeria's diversity, then you must begin to act differently with a different mindset. You must first acknowledge Nigeria before you acknowledge your tribe, or your ethnicity or your religion. You must celebrate the daily differences that you encounter rather than attack and vilify them. You must think of your brothers and sisters as Nigerians before you consider their history or origin. Is diversity significant? Whatever affects a country's progress and sustainability is significant enough to command huge attention. As long as Nigeria's diversity is posing a serious threat to national unity, peace, and sustainable development, it's a significant issue that we must bring to our consciousness as individuals and as a nation. As individuals, because individuals make up systems which make up the country. As a nation, because national goals and policies are necessary for correct navigation towards progress. If it were the case that you and I embrace ourselves as one united family, ignoring our tangible and non-tangible differences, then diversity wouldn't be a common word in relation to nationhood. Sadly, it's rapidly becoming a household terminology. What makes diversity significant is the simple fact that our continuity as a nation depends on it. Again, you and I, therefore, cannot ignore such a critical issue of national concern. Besides, there is hardly ever a natural system that can be said to be singular or monotonous in the sense of diversity. The delicate designs of animals easily make this point come alive. Animals have digestive, reproductive, respiratory, muscular or skeletal, and nervous systems. All these systems have subdivisions which make them run efficiently and effectively. Thinking about nationhood or statehood in this light, the existence of various systems is what we call diversity. You are only made to recognize some and ignore others because your country's leaders choose which to emphasize. I don't believe that any system should be disregarded by any country. Since a country's diversity can be likened to the design of animals, that country should likewise embrace and cultivate all these systems. The more your country embraces and cultivates her diversity, the better for every citizen. This is why you must make an individual effort in bringing the diversity of your country to the fore by celebrating it. You must not only become aware, but you must also acknowledge every bit of Nigeria's diversity. Diversity is a natural phenomenon like any natural phenomenon you can think of. We don't reject or deny good and profitable natural phenomena. In the same vein, no country should ever deny or reject her diversity. Nigeria has to begin to embrace her diversity and find ways to make it profitable. You are a Nigerian, this will start from you. 1. Do you behave in ways that are insensitive to the sentiments of people you meet every day, not caring whether they're of the same ethnicity or religion with you? 2. Is it a habit for you to treat people only based on your ethnic and religious preferences? 3. The first sense of diversity is mere awareness. 4. Diversity in an acknowledgement sense means you respect the fact that there's a multiplicity of types and then modify your behavior to accommodate that reality. 5. Perhaps we can create a different zoo or botanical gardens that the peoples of the world may come and see, that which is present in Nigeria and nowhere else. 6. Rather than screech because someone says killing of rat is abominable, just accept that as the belief the person has imbibed. 7. You are surrounded by so many things you are not aware of, so that all you need to do is explore. Don't spend time gossiping or fighting other tribes. Don't waste time castigating. Invest your time to gain knowledge, learn about other people, know them and learn to accept them for their uniqueness. 8. At the end of the day, we all are Nigerians, and our diversity is our strength. 9. You must think of your brothers and sisters as Nigerians before you consider their history or origin. Chapter 3. Celebrating our diversity. Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization. Mahatma Gandhi. A point of emphasis that rings throughout the pages of this book to the reader is the truth that there is beauty in diversity, beauty worth celebrating. Nigerians are people who value relationships, which explains why an average Nigerian spends their weekend at a function or the other, either to honor an invitation or play host to others. It becomes very interesting when the celebrants come from an ethnic group different from that of their friends and associates. One example is a marriage ceremony between a young Yoruba man and an Igbo lady who both have friends that are Hausa. Apart from the excitement that comes with traveling, people love the freshness of the taste of local foreign delicacies like onigbu, bitter leaf soup, or egusi. There is much to be appreciated about our diverse culinary skills, I should say. However, some conservative parents would never support matrimony with people from other clans. This reality also thrives within the Nigerian context. There are several records of forced or induced marriages in Nigeria. In some cultures, who a young man or woman marries is usually determined by their parents or guardians. They give reasons such as the need to sustain relationships within their clan or the importance of not bringing in a stranger from another land, an action they claim might infuriate the gods of the land. The basis for such restrictions hinges on the transgenerational cultural beliefs of these ethnic groups, in most instances. I will like to share an example of these stories of intertribal marriage restrictions, from Vanguard Nigeria, 23 March 2017, written by Josephine Agbenkese, Anino Aganbi and Chris Onuoha with you. Uche, a 31-year-old, hails from the southeast, Anambra State precisely, while Osiriaman, 26, hails from the south-south, Edo to be precise. They were practically falling head over heels for each other. 8 months into their relationship, Osiriaman succumbed to Uche's request to meet her father. A day was arranged and, hand in hand, the two lovebirds meandered naively into Osiriaman's home where her father, a retired military officer, was sitting in the living room. "Who is this young man?" Osiriaman's father asked, cheerfully. "He is my fiancé, Dad. I brought him to meet you," Osiriaman replied. The question that followed was, where is he from? His ethnicity, and Osiriaman immediately saw an entirely different side of her dad when she mentioned that Uche was from Anambra State and hoped to marry her. Negative perceptions. Without mincing words, the retired military man vowed to kill Uche if he came anywhere close to his daughter, even as he went on and on, reeling out the many negative perceptions about the Igbos, his worst fear being that Uche might end up using his daughter for money ritual. This idea impedes growth and social integration of citizens in no small measure. You are aware of the fact that human relationship is pivotal to the development of any state, especially one with a significant multiplicity of types. When you do not provide platforms for people to socialize, you indirectly limit their creativity and productivity. But when there is an opportunity for social interactions, development is guaranteed. If only you can look beyond the surface to deeply consider the benefits contained in celebrating our diversity rather than on unnecessary restrictions. You will be on the path to making the most astonishing discoveries about the most populous black nation in the world and her economic and social opportunities. As a concerned and patriotic citizen, the onus lies on you in particular to seek opportunities directed not only to appreciate the beauty in our diversity as a nation but more importantly, to educate others on why it is imperative to celebrate our unique identities. The Yorubas will say, "A child who has not gone beyond the circumference of his father's farmland will always believe that his father has the biggest farm in the village." Truth be told, information precedes transformation. This is a major objective of this book, to educate you, dear reader, on the blessedness of Nigeria's diversity and why you must actively participate in celebrating it. It is possible for a man to build his house on land which contains a large amount of mineral deposit that will be of no benefit to him if it is not discovered or harnessed appropriately. Our diversity will be of little or no benefit to us if you are not well informed about it. You can see why this book emphasizes on the need to get you enlightened on the subject of Nigeria's diversity. What it means to celebrate our diversity. Over the years, by traveling around the world and conducting personal researches and interviews with people of different social statuses, I made an outstanding discovery that most nations of the world are not entirely mono-ethnic by nature. In short, many of these nations were formed by people of different races and colors who migrated over centuries and became settlers in these lands. For example, one of the first settlers in the United States of America were influential Spanish explorers. According to America's Library, religious persecution was a major factor in the migration of Europeans to the new colony, America. By the 18th century, slaves from Africa were already living in North America, a colony of Great Britain. Nigeria has the potential to become a world-class economy. But lack of strong institutions and a consistent social integration program of the diverse population have impeded growth and development far too long. Ethnic and inter-tribal clashes are commonplace experiences in the country, leading to years of extrajudicial killings and destruction of properties. These can be curbed when you appreciate the fact that our diversity should bring us together, rather than tear us apart. This is why I consider the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) one of the best programs that was introduced into the Nigerian state since inception. Everything must be done to encourage the continuity of the program. Humans are created differently. Now, how does this discussion on diversity affect you directly? The first point of action is for you to understand that humans are created differently and that we are significantly a product of our society. What predominantly obtains among a group of people, their norms, culture, and belief, ultimately shapes their mindset and their overall perspective about others. Diversity cuts across a wide spectrum of human morphology, psychology, physiology, and sociology. Morphology in the sense that people are different in forms and structures. Then, there are differences in human psychology which influences our mental, emotional and behavioral characteristics. Having different functions in society also makes us differ physiologically. Finally, when we talk about social interactions and the rules that bind us together as a people, group, and institutions, we are sociologically diverse. In the midst of all these, we have built cohesive forces that drive us as a nation towards a common goal. For example, political systems are established for the fair representation of both minority and majority groups under due process of election. In a multi-ethnic state, a quota system is often employed to statistically determine the number of representations that a particular group has in the affairs of the state. The essence of politics is to ensure good governance, accountability, transparency, and responsibility of a group of people. Unfortunately, when this is missing, the entire populace suffer, and corruption thrives unchecked. There is a common narrative among Nigerians called eating from the national cake. This idea stems from the belief that whoever gets the privilege to serve in any public office should take his or her own share of public funds for private gains. You cannot expect the economy to grow in such a stifling environment. It is time we changed this narrative. One of your major obligations as a patriotic citizen of Nigeria is to offer your voice to speak against any perceived injustice around you. Injustice like nepotism, an act of giving preferential treatments to relatives or personal friends because of their relationship rather than because of their abilities. This practice of undue favoritism is the reason why we have so many incompetent civil servants and ghost workers in many public institutions all over the country. It is fraudulent for people to receive monthly payments for services they never rendered. It is treacherous for you to observe a man on a seat of power based on ethnicity and not speak out against it. In 2017, Premium Times NG reported a statement by the Accountant General of the Federation (AGF), Ahmed Idris, during a lecture on the impact of financial reforms on the Nigerian economy. At the 22nd Annual Conference of Certified National Accountants, Mr. Idris confirmed that the federal government, through the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System (IPPIS), saved a total of 120 billion naira from checking fraudulent activities of ghost work. Such an alarming figure. This alone is enough to cripple the economy. Nigeria needs strong institutions that are managed by honest, competent individuals who are committed to national development irrespective of what part of the country they come from. And we have them in every part of the country. Unfortunately, through almost 60 years of independence as a sovereign state, Nigeria still ranks very high amongst the most corrupt countries in the world. It is high time we changed this unhealthy global image. The answer to changing this narrative lies in celebrating our diversity. The answer lies in acknowledging the best brains among us irrespective of tribe and ethnicity. Historically, Nigerians have proven to be well capable of upholding an honest service and accountability in the given assignments. An important example is Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who served 2 terms as the first female Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy of Nigeria, 2003 to 2006, 2011 to 2015. Between 2007 and 2011, she was Managing Director of the World Bank. Her global recognition and awards further confirms her as a worthy example and a perfect ambassador of Nigeria. She was named one of the 50 greatest world leaders by Fortune magazine in 2015, and one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine in 2014. Among many other national and international honors. Without doubts, Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala epitomizes strong personal principles and professionalism. This should also be a significant motivation for you as a concerned and patriotic citizen of Nigeria. The transformation we seek as a nation begins with you as an individual. You have a role to play. When you celebrate our diversity, you become actively involved in building a stronger Nigeria where every single citizen is treated with dignity and honor. Think of a country where individual rights are protected regardless of which tribe you belong to, and a nation where there is absolute respect for the rule of law. It is a known fact that Nigeria has always played an active role in leading global initiatives for equality among different races and cultures. One prominent example that readily comes to mind is the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Cultures, which Nigeria hosted in 1977. Even though there were, and still are, many opinions about the relevance of such massive event and why the military government would lavish hundreds of millions of naira to showcase its wealth to the world. You cannot deny the fact that Festac 1977 left behind a legacy of the celebration of diversity and alleviated the burdens of many Nigerians under the oppressive control of military dictators. In this dispensation of a greater level of awareness and information, we may not need to gather the whole world physically to achieve similar feats. All you need is a progressive enlightenment of our diversity that can be accessed through technology. To achieve this, a number of factors must be considered. First, is the active representation and involvement of young people in decision and policy making in every sector. The younger generation's inquisitiveness and creativity can be so harnessed in this regard, and I can guarantee you that tremendous impact on the country will be achieved. Many Nigerian youths roam aimlessly about every day without being involved in gainful employment or production of goods and services, and this trend increases at an alarming rate. For example, the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), in December 2017, stated in its Unemployment and Underemployment Report from first to third quarter 2017 that Nigeria's unemployment rate rose from 14.2% to 18.8% in 2017. While the country's labor population increased from 83.9 million in the second quarter to 85.1 million in the third quarter of 2017. Meaning the additional labor force had a difference of 1.2 million. A number of the youth fall in this category. The NBS report showed that Nigeria's economic growth continued to decline since the second quarter, 2014, culminating in an economic recession in second quarter 2016. Looking at this disturbing statistics, you may readily want to conclude that Nigeria has not done a good job to properly engage her youth in the area of economic activities involving the production of goods and services. The reality is that over time, cultural differences and regional bias contribute significantly to many Nigerian youth's preferences to accept employment opportunities that are available within the geopolitical zones or states compared to similar opportunities outside. The excuse for this choice most times is that language limitation and cultural beliefs may hinder their productivity when they work among people of a different tribe or ethnicity. This is one important reason. To correct this narrative, you must take the information provided in this book about the beauty in Nigeria's diversity very seriously. You cannot afford to let go of important opportunities like these because of your indifferent attitude in accepting and celebrating Nigeria's diversity. These preferential instances are frequently experienced when, for example, prospective members of the National Youth Service Corps immediately seek redeployment when they are posted to states that are distant from their state of origin or of residence. This approach to national service, however, disrupts the objective of the scheme towards humility, service, national unity and social integration of Nigerians, and ultimately reflects badly in the fabric of the Nigerian society as one known for its cultural diversity. Regrettably, this practice is fast becoming a norm among the youth. You must act to discourage it because it is inimical to the progress of our country as a multicultural state with the tendency to create segregation and disunity in the long run. The National Youth Service Corps Scheme (NYSC) was established in 1973 as an effective panacea to rebuild and reconcile Nigeria after years of civil war which threatened the unity and progress of the country. According to Decree No. 24 of the 22nd of May 1973, the NYSC was instituted with a view to the proper encouragement and development of common ties among the youths of Nigeria and the promotion of national unity. The scheme seeks to solve our common problems of tribalism, poverty, shortage and uneven distribution of skilled labor and inadequate socio-economic infrastructural facilities. Basically, it coordinates a one-year compulsory national service program for graduates of Nigerian higher institutions and Nigerian citizens who schooled in foreign universities. It is usually very mandatory for fresh graduates to undertake the program and be actively engaged in the curriculum after a systematic mobilization exercise and registration. Obviously, NYSC recognizes that the future of any country depends on the youths, hence, focusing on the need to train Nigerian youths on critical subjects such as patriotism, tolerance, love, entrepreneurship, and security. This exercise fundamentally instills in Nigerian youths the spirit of selfless service to the society, and to underscore the spirit of oneness of all Nigerians, regardless of cultural or social background. You can replicate the impact of the NYSC program by cultivating similar patriotic zeal and values by getting significantly involved in socio-economic activities within Nigeria, irrespective of cultural or ethnic. In addition, you should avail yourself of many opportunities to get developed in basic personal and professional skills that are needed for you to succeed in the 21st century. If you and every other Nigerian youth do this, assuredly, unemployment and underemployment will be reduced drastically in Nigeria. Furthermore, the National Orientation Agency, NOW, which is responsible for ensuring that government programs and policies are better understood by the general public, should bring up programs and initiatives that will redefine social constructs and general perspectives of the average Nigerian citizen, especially the youth. Be interested. Curiosity stems from a growing interest in something, a desire to not just know about a subject but also to get involved in the process. You are probably trying to think back whether all the curiosity spells you have had were always about wanting to get involved in the matter at hand. True, curiosity does not always imply a desire to get involved. But you know very well that nation building and national progress require the involvement of all the stakeholders of the Nigerian society. And you are a principal stakeholder whether or not you realize it. Wisdom says to accept the fact of your stakeholder status. Otherwise you would be denying a fundamental responsibility. I'm talking about the responsibility of making good efforts to make Nigeria, at least your immediate society, better for your loved ones and your posterity. Even if it's not for your posterity directly, the obligation still exists. Yes. That's because the Nigeria, by extension the world, you live in today is a product of past efforts of people who lived before you. Some even died in the process of fighting for a better Nigeria. Ken Saro-Wiwa was a remarkable leader of his time who stood for the Ogoni land of the Niger Delta. His struggles were for oil explorers to be environmentally responsible in order not to destroy the land and source of livelihood of his people. This wasn't just an Ogoni fight, it was a struggle that was supposed to set a standard for oil explorers in the entire Niger Delta. So, we can say that he was fighting for the prosperity of Nigeria because the South-South region served as the oil base of the country where the bulk of the nation's revenue came from. One single man took responsibility for his entire land and society. He saw himself as responsible for the struggles of his people. This strong leader was roped and killed for trying to make Nigeria you would meet better. Whether I live or die is immaterial. It is enough to know that there are people who commit time, money and energy to fight this one evil among so many others predominating worldwide. If they do not succeed today, they will succeed tomorrow. Ken Saro-Wiwa. His involvement, as a matter of fact, was so huge that the world took notice of his efforts. Little wonder there was a huge outcry in the international community over his murder, leading to the suspension of Nigeria from the Commonwealth of Nations for some years. Of course, Nigeria is not a perfect world. Which country is? It doesn't have to be a perfect world, it only has to be good enough to make you live, survive and have hope for something better. To make your viable contributions to this world, even if only to your nation. I believe that you are not like the wicked master who only rewards or even encourages his servants for perfect jobs when he knows well that perfection would mean aiming for the stars with an ordinary javelin. You should be curious to get involved in the way you reasonably can. You must be involved in your culture, you must be involved in your community. For example, as an informed Nigerian you should have a good knowledge about the affairs of the government, economic policies, infrastructural development programs, budget planning, security, healthcare, education, technology, electioneering and a host of other discussions that readily attract public commentary. The next question you ask yourself is what is expected of you as a citizen of the country in those respective aspects of the Nigerian society. That's how you translate your curiosity into involvement. A clear example of abandoning your responsibility, as we have just established, for contributing to national development is when you refuse to understand election processes in the country. And worse still when you refuse to cast your vote. Every great country is made up of citizens' acknowledgement of political diversity. Citizens appreciate the political diversity by voting and ensuring their votes count in an election. Dear reader, Nigeria needs you to be interested in and to get involved in her development. You cannot expect change when you vote with your mouth before the radio or television in your house on election day. Not only is lip participation unproductive, but it also robs you of the moral basis to complain when a bad government thrives in office in the wrong direction. You are probably thinking that your vote cannot count anyway. That is true. It's true because you are not the only person who thinks like that and acts based on that mindset. There are millions of you thinking like that. In the 2015 presidential elections, of the 67 million accredited voters, only 29 million cast their votes. That's way less than 50% of people who said they would vote by registering. Nigeria in 2015 had roughly 170 million people. We need more than 1/5 of the population to make such critical decisions as who the leaders of the nation should be. Imagine if these numbers were actively involved in election processes. I tell you what, more leaders of great integrity will spring up and run for public offices if only there is an assurance that very many Nigerians will participate in election processes. While lip participation is one problem, apathy is just as bad, if not worse. If you are among the Nigerians who are uninterested in electoral processes, you have to change. Apathy kills a nation, indifference cripples all the beauty of our diversity. Everybody cannot lead, but everybody should participate. A lack of interest is bad, especially on an issue that affects you either directly or indirectly in great measures. If a wrong government is in power, everybody feels the pain from counterproductive policies and stiff regulations where unnecessary. We all know that only the friends of a bad government benefit from that government to the detriment of the entire nation. This is why you cannot afford to have political or voting apathy. In the United States, politicians thread carefully because they understand that power lies with the people. But in Nigeria, our governments are wayward yet arrogant. You can't blame them because the people gave them the space to misbehave without repercussions. Many governments are bold to oppress the people because they know that the people are docile and lack interest. That is the sad reason why a failed government will have the audacity to nurse ambitions for a second term. And the shameless government will still parade itself before the people to announce their intentions to rerun. It's in a nation where the people lack interest that you find such incredible things. You and I are to blame because we have proven over and again that we can only talk or show curiosity instead of us to get involved. You have to get involved enough to make your politicians know that you mean business. Those who don't care will always end up being the complainers of government failure. Would you travel out of the country to a more peaceful and prosperous society? How many people can really do that? There is no running away. Even if you leave Nigeria, you will always have a family member behind. Dear reader, you must be interested enough to understand your country Nigeria. Be interested enough to understand Nigeria's people and culture and the beauty of her numerous diversity. More importantly, be interested enough to participate in societal processes as necessity and obligation demand of you. That is the only way we can gather enough energy to collectivize and deal with our problems. The most prosperous societies in the world have either of two things: an effective and functional government, or an interested and responsible people. Some countries have both, but at the moment, you may say that Nigeria has neither. That narrative is about to change with you and me. On the issue of diversity, you have to be curious about the diversity of your fatherland. I have already established the kind of curiosity that's necessary for the progress of the country. It's the curiosity that goes beyond being interested in being a participator. It's an active curiosity. Be interested in learning about other beliefs in Nigeria. I am not saying you should embrace all beliefs. I am rather saying that you should be interested in learning about them and be ready to relate with them with absolute love and acceptance. The reason for this is to help you respect people of beliefs that are different from yours. What you understand, you can easily refute or disagree with respectfully. If you disagree with a person and he sees that you have no informed basis for disagreeing, he sees you as hasty and unintelligent. More so, you pass a message to him that he is not an important part of society worthy of accommodating. However, if you show interest in diversity, you become actively involved in the general value of peace and unity. You demonstrate the importance of the other person, you demonstrate how much you value their opinion, you demonstrate intelligence in the way the differing viewpoints can come together to build something magnificent, whole, and incredible. For example, I have always emphasized my passion for developing traditional and herbal medicine in Nigeria and Africa. Though I am not a traditionalist or an herbalist, yet I share in the beauty of that diversity. I understand that the herbs that have been used for ages in Africa to cure illnesses have a certain level of potency and effectiveness. Beyond the incantations and voodoo, there are some scientific discoveries latent in those leaves and roots. I need the herbalists to help me discover all of this. Why? Because I have come to accept and celebrate the beauty in our diversity. Though I am a pastor, I value an herbalist and respect his view. It is out of that respect that a whole world of scientific herbal and traditional medicine is about to be born for the African continent. That is accepting the beauty of diversity. Whenever we do not understand a thing, we should not fight, rather we should seek to discover it. Now, this happens when you're well informed, when your opinion is not in any way threatened by what other people hold dear or practice. The main fact that you show interest is a pointer that you took the first step of respect. There will be greater steps of respect and regard on other varying views, perspectives or practices. This is how you celebrate the beauty in diversity. How you can celebrate our diversity. Having established a sufficient background on celebrating our diversity, the question you will want answered is how exactly you should get this done. I will explain different ways you can celebrate our diversity by drawing from an example of a country that has harnessed her unique differences and systematically marshaled them to achieve national and global prominence. Some of such a country ranks amongst the richest and most peaceful in the world while being historically multi-ethnic: Switzerland, Canada, Belgium, America, and Britain. Switzerland. Switzerland, a relatively small European country with a land area of 41,285 square kilometers, lies at the crossroads between several major European cultures. The country accommodates three of Europe's major languages: French, German and Italian. It also has its national languages, in addition to Romansh, spoken by a small minority group. In Switzerland, there is a wide range of traditions and customs which characterize the cultural diversity. The country's colorful mountainous landscapes reflect not only the beauty of the land but also the people's traditional values. The country boasts of a robust appreciation for folk art through music, dance, and poetry. One obvious trademark of the Swiss is the accordion, Schweizerorgel, a most prized musical instrument. Sikica Milosevic, a writer for diplomacy and commerce, explained, "The melodies of Swiss folk music vary between regions. The most popular themes are about love and the homeland, but patriotic and pastoral themes, as well as hunting themes. are also very common. This is a country where diversity is celebrated, resulting in years of increased national development and international acceptance. They have always encouraged and nurtured their local customs, making them a country with a wealthy cultural image and thriving tradition. Surely, Nigeria can learn from this. For example, our over 500 languages can be made an invaluable tool for social integration and unity. Almost every tribe in Nigeria has its own language, and even within these tribes are subgroups with considerably diverse dialects. How should you celebrate this uniqueness? Generally, people who speak the same language build relationships faster than those who do not. This is because an idea of family is created in the minds of people who speak the same language, which further strengthens their level of confidence in that relationship. More so, people are happy when someone from another tribe understands their language and can converse in it quite beautifully. This makes the indigenous speakers proud because it is a proof that they are being recognized by others even when they are a minority group. Surely, you can endeavor to learn another Nigerian language. In fact, I think the government of Nigeria should make it mandatory for all school children to speak more than one Nigerian language. In the past, people who could speak all three major Nigerian languages were likened to Wazobia, an appellation of a detribalized Nigerian and a nationalist to the core. You will discover that many of our aging population have these attributes, whereas the younger generation of Nigerians lack them. If you are a lover of good music, you will understand how invaluable language is in this aspect and how it influences individual music styles and messages. There is no better music to any man's ear and heart than his language. Music. Music forms an integral part of many ethnic groups in Nigeria. The leather-skinned traditional drum is a common instrument of music among many tribes. Among the Yorubas, who occupy the western part of Nigeria, there are the bata, gangan, talking drum, bedu and sakara drums. The Igbos, Easterners, have the massive akoro drum, the hollow bass pot made from clay, called udu, and the Igbo drums. In the north, the tambari, kettle drum, and the kalangu, talking drum, are common. An interesting twist to this is that hardly can you separate this musical instrument from the style of music and dance they represent. There are many other musical instruments like shekere, shakers, agogo, gongs, goje, local hard, and kakaki, trumpet. The language of music is always an effective means to celebrate our diversity. I will give detailed examples of this in a later chapter. However, you should know that Nigeria has produced many music icons that are still being celebrated globally. The likes of late Fela Anikulapo, Ransom Kuti, Africa's musical genius, used music to strongly criticize corrupt practices of the Nigerian government and also spoke against the oppressive regime of the then military dictators. Aside from this, one fascinating side to Fela's music was that it was adjudged richly African. At the point where his leading musical force reduced, Fela's political impacts grew stronger, which made him establish his own revolutionary party, Movement of the People, later banned by the government. He suffered harassment and imprisonment severally for this. Although his lifestyle and marriage remain debatable till now, you can't deny his effort in the fight for freedom and liberation of the less privileged. He sought a better standard of living for the masses using the rich Nigerian music as a tool. Among several interviews, Fela said, "If you are in England, music can be a source of enjoyment, you can sing about love, you can sing about whom you are going to be with next. But in my own environment my society is under development because of an alien system on our people, so there is no music for enjoyment, there is nothing like love. There is something that is struggling for people's existence. So as an artist, politically artistically, the whole idea about your environment must be represented in the music, in the art. Art is what is really happening at a particular time of a people's development or underdevelopment. As far as Africa is concerned, music cannot be for enjoyment alone, music ought to be for revolution, really working with the people. Enlightening the people and doing your duty as a citizen, play music and art and do something about the system. If you feel bad about it, do something about it. I see Africans today, what we do is just to suffer and smile. We smile because we are good people probably, but you see, people don't have to smile in bad condition. That is making matters worse, that is going into slavery because our condition is not a condition of smiling, so I write a tune called Suffering and Smiling. To attack the ills of the society, to see why things are happening, like police brutality and army oppression. The power and influence of music is effectively communicated in this interview, one reason you must employ it as an instrument to celebrate our diversity. Rather than what Nigerian music has become today, music a few years ago was instrumental to instruction, raising a child, enlightening a society, teaching and entrenching morals, corrections, awareness for the government. Celebrating the beauty and diversity of Nigeria, etc. It is unfortunate that many of what Nigerian music has become today is noise. It is difficult to pick these sounds as truly Nigerian. The flavor, the depth, and the richness are gone. This is an aberration. For us to truly celebrate Nigeria's diversity, we must bring back our folklore, our music, the Nigerian sound, accompanied by the energetic dance steps. This must be celebrated, accepted and awarded. This is what you and I as Nigerians must encourage. However, music in Nigeria is also great entertainment and present huge business opportunity. In 2016, the Nigerian music industry was worth $40 million, and in 2015 this figure increased to $47 million, which is expected to double by the year 2020. According to a report by a multinational professional services network, PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC. With the development of digital platforms and online media marketing sales, this target is achievable. Across Nigeria, each tribe has its unique musical heritage spanning through generations, many of which come up during different functions, weddings, festivals, carnivals, or funerals. No matter how primitive you may classify this approach, you must accept and embrace the beauty that enraptures such occasions. Some ethnic groups usually organize massive events, for instance, as part of the activities involved in the burial ceremony of the deceased, especially if that person lived such an impactful life or was very wealthy and influential in the society. A number of these celebrations take several days, in rare instances weeks, as the funeral of a traditional ruler. It appears that when Nigerians are not working, they marry. Some of these melodious tunes are Apala, Fuji, Igbo highlife, Afrobeat, Waka, Afro Juju, among others. You cannot leave out Nigerians' unique poetry in this excitement. The Kanuri and Hausa people have a history of reciting long poems of unorthodox Islamic text. In the Niger Delta, a common epic is the Ozidi Saga, which takes a week to perform with mime and dance. The famous poet, Adebayo Faleti, is well known among the Yorubas for his EWI, Yoruba poetry. These are but a few examples of how you can celebrate our diversity. National Theatre. A unique tourist center that houses a collection of beautiful Nigerian arts, historical artifacts and monument are the National Arts Theatre located at Aganmu, Lagos State. The theatre which serves as a focal point to celebrate Nigeria's cultural diversity and a significant location for performing arts in the country, was built in 1976 during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo. Its exterior is shaped like a military hat and has a 5,000-seater main hall with a collapsible stage, and 2 capacity cinema halls. As a building, the National Theatre was a major factor in the success of the Festival of Arts and Culture, Festac 1977, and much more as a legacy of the festival. This points to the fact that investment in national heritage like this allows for lasting appreciation of our cultural diversity as a group of people. It is on this backdrop that the supposed intention to privatize the building by former President Olusegun Obasanjo was heavily criticized by a number of famous Nigerian entertainers and playwrights like the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. We should celebrate and develop our cultural heritage because of their importance to national unity and peace. Having read this chapter, I implore you to join hands with me in bringing the Nigerian glory to the global stage. We must let the world see what we have and what belongs to us. We must ensure that the world knows we are Nigerians and proudly Nigerian. By this chapter, perhaps you will begin to accept and celebrate the Nigerian food, the Nigerian wares, the Nigerian music, the Nigerian tourist centers, etc. Whichever way you choose to celebrate Nigeria's diversity can be unique to you, only ensure that your attitude to the vast array of beauty in Nigeria is not that of apathy. 1. It is treacherous for you to observe a man on a seat of power based on ethnicity and not speak out against it. 2. When you celebrate our diversity, you become actively involved in building a stronger Nigeria where every single citizen is treated with dignity and honor. 3. A clear example of abandoning your responsibility for contributing to national development is when you refuse to understand election processes in the country, and worse still when you refuse to cast your vote. 4. If you are among the Nigerians who are uninterested in electoral processes, you have to change. 5. Be interested enough to participate in societal processes as necessity and obligation demand of you. 6. Surely, you can endeavor to learn another Nigerian language. 7. For us to truly celebrate Nigeria's diversity, we must bring back our folklore, our music, the Nigerian sound, accompanied by the energetic dance steps. 8. Whichever way you choose to celebrate Nigeria's diversity can be unique to you, only ensure that your attitude to the vast array of beauty in Nigeria is not that of apathy. Chapter 4. Exploring our diversity. Different roads sometimes lead to the same castle. George R.R. Martin. In Chapter 2 of this book, I established that Nigeria's diversity cuts across many areas. Thus, you should by now be well aware of the fact that Nigeria is broad by many standards, as we called multiplicity of types. I explore in this chapter the opportunities you should see in the aspects of Nigeria's diversity, and how you as a Nigerian can take advantage of them to your own benefit in particular, and to the benefit of the country in general. You should not be aware of such a huge, complex phenomenon as a diversified nation and not be able to make anything good out of it. If a dry land, like Dubai, could exploit their oil reserve to make the country prosperous and desirous, how much more a wetland, like Nigeria? Apart from helping you see the diversity of Nigeria, my aim is also to help you make the most of it unto the end that the nation, including you, moves forward in great measures. I established already that Nigeria is biologically diverse, ethnically diverse, culturally diverse, economically diverse, and religiously diverse. Now let's examine the opportunities existing along these areas one after the other, and also explore untapped opportunities they each present you and the nation Nigeria. I will now discuss some areas of diversity we can explore as a nation. Exploring biodiversity. Biodiversity presents us with numerous plant and animal alternatives which not only beautify our biological landscape but also provide us with food, medical and commercial alternatives. The day you fully grasp the biological diversity of Nigeria, that day would be the day you stop complaining about the country. This is because your eyes will become open to the numerous things to be grateful for, to enjoy, to explore, to exploit, and to promote. You must understand that heaven doesn't sow seeds for any nation, neither does heaven intervene in the affairs of nations without the active participation of the people of that nation. Acknowledging, appreciating, and exploring the biodiversity of Nigeria might just be the miracle you have been waiting for all these years. I mean, do you ever regret being born in a country like Nigeria? Perhaps the reason is that you have come to believe that there is nothing worth celebrating about or hoping for in this country. May I tell you now that many of the biological documentaries of plants and animals which you watch on Discovery Channel, or read about in magazines, are products of people who identified such amazing things about certain places. Some of these people travel far and wide studying biological life in rare or fascinating species just to have something beautiful to say about nature to a world that is gradually paying less attention to conservation of biological life for several worthy purposes. People watch these documentaries, and read these magazines, and have more faith in this dying world. They become increasingly environmentally friendly and appreciative of their country's biological blessings. If you detest or trivialize the natural things around you and dream of enjoying the ones in foreign places, you may never have full peace and happiness where you are. It's so because each time you look around you, you'll find something to complain about. However, when you recognize the biological diversity of Nigeria established in Chapter 2, and you move a step further to acknowledge it, you would have a different outlook on your immediate environment. Opportunities. The main purpose of this book is to help you recognize first, and then, more importantly, acknowledge the diversity of Nigeria. At this point, let me remind you that Nigeria is indeed diverse if you and I acknowledge the multiplicity of types existing across several aspects of life in the nation. The opportunities we discuss below are to help you make such acknowledgement that, apart from what you already know about certain aspects of life and people in Nigeria, there is more which makes the nation what it is. Let's now examine the opportunities in biological diversity in Nigeria. What we can do with our foods. The people in the riverine areas of Nigeria are known to produce fish more than any other part of the nation. Likewise, northerners are the major cattle rearers, while in the southwest and south-south, chicken and goats are very commonly reared for meat provision. Despite the subtle peculiarities, fish, beef, chicken, and goat meat can be found anywhere in the country. People found a need to make a variety of meat available to all around the country irrespective of where they are from. This led to mass production and distribution of meat across the nation, even importation joined the source. This basic form of diversity did not serve to make you and I distinguish ourselves by meat consumption. It rather made us interested in one another in some sense, because we liked the availability of several aquaterrestrial options to garnish our foods with. The opportunity here is both a unifying medium and a commercial vehicle for social progress and economic prosperity, respectively. Can you imagine a Nigeria where people stick only to the kind of meat or fish they can produce in large quantities in their hometown, city or state? Today, chicken rearing, goat rearing, etc. are not the least bit peculiar to the geopolitical location because of a general embrace of the meat. In fact, commercial fish production is no longer peculiar to the availability of natural fish habitats because ponds are viable virtually anywhere in the country. With such an enormous opportunity, how can any youth in Nigeria claim there is no job? A further untapped opportunity along the line of biological diversity is cattle rearing. Cattle rearing is yet to be a national commonality spread across all 6 geopolitical zones. Nothing stops us from establishing large-scale cattle rearing across non-northern states. You don't have only to identify cattle rearing with Fulani herdsmen. The recent skirmishes between farmers and the herdsmen across Nigeria provide us with a rare opportunity of making meat production and cattle rearing an exportable commodity just as Botswana has done. We can raise ranches with the capacity to feed the entire continent on our vast lands in each state. The feeds for the cattle coming from the farmers provide a great income, and the cow dung can be processed as manure for farmlands. The current crisis only provides us with opportunities if we can see them. Now, the question at this point is whether we will adopt every cultural identity across different cultures in the nation. Well, as long as it would lead to progress and common national good, we have a good reason to. It is better to see the Fulanis as the pioneers of large-scale cattle rearing and have a prosperous, peaceful nation than to see cattle rearing as a Fulani thing and suffer unnecessary troubles. Acceptance and acknowledgement is a major way of celebrating our diversity. Going beyond animals for food, we have plants for food as well. Food is powerful. Ask any married couple, and you would hear different versions of the power of food from the husband and the wife. Depending on whose role it is to do the cooking, for the wife it could be a harmless weapon, and for the man, it could be a timely tablet. This is not just true in marriage, it's also true for virtually everyone irrespective of the kind of relationship in question. The day a friend buys you a fine lunch, you're likely to ignore his offenses for the rest of the day. Or forgive his past wrongs, talk about the reconciliatory power of food. The day your boss buys you lunch, you're likely to work a bit harder and better for the rest of the day. People even believe that a family who eats together are more likely to stay together as necessary. All these are indicators of the power of food. The existence of various vegetables, spices, and fruits predominantly in specific places across the nation is a major reason why delicacies differ from place to place, and from culture to culture. This plant diversity is the basic reason we have several soup dishes around the country. Interestingly, the diversity of soups and delicacies across the nation is a major opportunity for peace and acceptance. How is that the case? How did you feel the day you traveled to a new town, ate and enjoyed a local delicacy? And how did the people treat you, knowing that you were a foreigner, enjoying a part of their everyday life? You must have felt good about discovering yet another sumptuous dish. The locals must have treated you with respect and great courtesy, introducing their hospitable nature to you, most likely because of the interest they perceived you had for them. And without doubts, you must also have felt among and loved. In a situation like this, food was the contact point. And that was because you decided to acknowledge diversity by trying and enjoying a foreign delicacy. Biodiversity made this possible, therefore you simply acknowledged biodiversity. One lesson to learn from here is that you have to deliberately open up yourself to what you're not used to in your locality. There is a cumulative effect this has on the nation. A Fulani man who comes to the south and experiences the beauty of biological diversity there will go back to the north with a contagious attitude of acceptance and accommodation for biodiversity. Likewise, an Igbo man who goes to the southwest and experiences the beauty of diversity will definitely go back to the east with an attitude of acceptance and accommodation for biodiversity. Food is an integral part of any people. Therefore, accepting people's food means accepting them. You cannot accept a different culture's delicacies and harbor unfounded, ridiculous biases and hatred towards them. This is because you somehow feel like one of them by the mere fact that you accept a core part of them, their food. Even if it doesn't get you to change entirely, the little effect is needed because it will combine powerfully with other aspects of the people which we will discuss shortly. Medical advancements aided largely by scientific research and technology are constantly improving health conditions around the world. These two bases for medical advancements are very expensive, meaning only serious governments invest heavily in them. Nigeria happens to be quite unlucky in this area. We only enjoy doing a massive medical importation rather than invest heavily in medical advancement towards self-sufficiency boosted by international medical collaborations. Hopefully, this book will stir up someone to join me with the necessary passion or influence in doing the necessary along this line. Did you know that Nigeria's biodiversity offers a huge potential in medical exploration that's capable of serving international medical needs? On the surface, consider Nigerian herbalists who prepare and prescribe rather potent medicines from local herbs. These herbalists do not have the backing of world-class medical research facilities or adequate funding. Yet you would hear from millions of Nigeria about the effectiveness of a local medicine like Agbo Jedi which almost every home can prepare. This local medicine is made from local herbs, the bark of trees and roots. You probably have taken it before at some point in your life, but you probably didn't realize that it could be standardized and improved upon to meet strict global pharmaceutical standards. Recently, a team of researchers from Saudi Arabia discovered anti-cancer potential in the egusi we eat every day in Nigeria. Several other discoveries like this exist for many local plants in Nigeria. Do you now realize how biodiversity presents us with a lot of medical opportunities to raise the health conditions of the average Nigerian? Affordable healthcare is good, but universal healthcare is better. Nigeria doesn't even have the best of either. Yet there is so much we could achieve as a nation by exploring the opportunities for providing locally driven quality healthcare for all Nigerians. If foreign researchers can identify and exploit our biological diversity for medical purposes which they will still sell to us, why don't we rather collaborate with them to explore our own resources for our own good? Fortunately, however, you're probably aware that there is an increasing exploration of alternative medicine in Nigeria. There seems to be an encouraging trend of higher standards and more practitioners, even though ethical and acceptance issues persist. This is a very good way to explore our biological diversity as a nation. More can still be done by discovering more of these local plants and their medicinal values. If you acknowledge these, you wouldn't be skeptical. You would rather patronize and encourage others to patronize our local medical content which meets acceptable medical standards. It's not only America that can produce medicine, but Nigeria can also as well, so be supportive rather than be a negative critic. That way, you prove yourself as one who acknowledges Nigeria's biodiversity in yet another dimension. Trade. There is a commercial side to Nigeria's biodiversity. Apart from the family spirit and acceptance that we can get from food, and the improvement of health conditions we can get from plant diversity, there is an undeniable potential for massive economic emancipation for as many Nigerians who choose to explore the country's biodiversity. Although it's the government's duty to ensure the basic welfare of the citizens, nothing stops us from taking up other economic opportunities as they present themselves. This can be both as a nation through government intervention, planning, and investment, or by individual initiative. Currently, in Nigeria, the government is not doing enough, so you should really consider economic opportunities lying within the fabrics of biodiversity by your own initiative. The important questions to ask are about innovative production and wide distribution. For example, you may ask the following. 1. What is already obtainable from the fruits and vegetables that are common where I am? 2. What more can be gotten from them? 3. What are other nations who have them doing with them? 4. Who else needs them but does not have easy access to them? 5. Where are they mostly needed? 6. How can I bridge the gap between local producers and the larger market demand? 7. How can I attract foreign investors to come and explore these things here? 8. How can I encourage other citizens who have explorative potential and capacity to look into these things? 9. How can I bring them to the point where more people appreciate them the more to increase the perceived value? 10. Even the otherwise neglected common plants, could anything good possibly be hiding in them? 11. How can I find out? 12. What can I also process? 13. What can I also distribute? 14. What can I also promote? In the heart of these questions, and more, lies economic potentials that have not been tapped into or that could still be tapped into. The same biodiversity that you probably have never recognized or acknowledged is the very source of wealth to many individuals, families, and organizations, if not states. Biodiversity does not only have aesthetic values like Discovery channels and certain magazines sell to us. It also has economic potential, which is the major concern of the average Nigerian. Even if you don't need any more economic good, you can appreciate Nigeria's biodiversity and encourage others to do the same. Talk about these things in your sphere of contact. If everyone did so, we would appreciate our environment and country better, looking inward for solutions to our problems rather than waiting for unreliable governments. Economy, away from oil, Nigeria, would you? Nigeria has a problematic overdependence on oil. I call it problematic because Nigeria isn't the only country which depends heavily on oil, but it's one of the worse-offs of those countries. If you compare Dubai's dependence on oil to Nigeria's, you would realize that Nigeria appears to have been like a child who's given an entire kingdom to rule. And freedom to do so. Definitely, the child will act like a confused fellow unless he has a good guide to guide him into maturity so that he'll do well. The problem with Nigeria is that she has refused to grow up after too many years of expected maturity. Dubai was wise with oil exploration. By diversifying the proceeds into other sectors, Nigeria has not done that. Dubai foresaw a future in which the oil won't serve them much, so they planned ahead. Today, tourism is the major source of revenue. Everyone loves to visit Dubai because it's a beautiful tourist attraction as a city. And you don't visit Dubai if you're broke, you visit and pay financial homage to their economy. Nigeria, on the other hand, has put all her egg in one basket. Our leaders have been like a person who only nurtures his right hand and left leg. forgetting that his left hand and right leg are needed to help him maximize his physical productivity. Did nobody ever tell us that oil will not be a luxurious and highly demanded commodity forever? Perhaps everyone knew, but nobody was willing to do something about it. When the price of oil plummeted in 2014, we were taught a serious lesson. But we didn't really learn any lesson, did we? We seem not to realize that the world is moving away from fossil fuels to clean energy. This spells huge trouble for us because we will soon have only a few buyers until the revenue becomes insufficient in itself. As a matter of fact, the major patronizer of Nigeria's crude oil are at the forefront of exploring alternative clean energy. But we have decided to be unwise. The revenue gotten from oil annually ought to service the exploration and strengthening of other industries. The average Nigerian first thinks of agriculture when he hears about diversifying the economy. Definitely, Nigeria is blessed with all kinds of agricultural potentials, so it's not far-fetched that we will naturally look in that direction first. However, Nigeria is way beyond oil and agriculture. For example, Nigeria is blessed with several mineral deposits waiting for a massive exploration. There is tin ore, coal, zinc, limestone, and others. These minerals are potential commodities for export if we explore them well enough. Even though the revenue potential they have may not be as huge as that of the oil industry. You just need to think about the number of jobs that would be created if the country gave adequate attention to mining. The beauty of mining also is that it allows for diversity. For example, from gold alone, you could have more than 10,000 products. Same with all other mineral products that Nigeria has in abundance. Imagine that huge potential of the untapped mining industry in Nigeria. Coal, for example, is a global commodity which is found in select states across Nigeria. Its main use is in generating heat for several industrial and domestic purposes. It is also used for making pencils and can serve as a lubricant with some processing. Countries such as the United States and China are major dealers in coal, in terms of production and consumption. As of 2014, China alone accounted for 50% of the world's total coal consumption. Nigeria is not amongst the top dealers in coal, but the deposits of coal in the country have economic viability. The era of heavy coal mining should be brought back. Not only coal, but all other mineral deposits we have should be explored. It will encourage our young ones to study mining with good employment prospects, it will reduce the cost of importation and increase the revenue from exportation. It will create new jobs for the teeming labor force, it will encourage local manufacturing by reducing the cost of purchasing imported raw materials. It will have a good ripple effect on other sectors of the economy. Our natural resources are vast and rewarding. However, we must not just talk about them to make us feel good about ourselves. We should continue to explore them and count our consequent blessings. Diversity is the way to prosperity for Nigeria. Everyone has a role to play. The government has its role to play, and you also have yours in exploring our economic diversity and its potentials. Government role lies basically in investment and good policies which makes it easy for people to enter certain industries and do business profitably to all parties involved. We have a long way to go in this line because according to the World Bank, Nigeria ranks 145 out of 190 on the list of the best places to do business. Apart from the way this affects local investors, it's sometimes necessary to attract foreign direct investment. Although, you should only be happy about foreign direct investments which provide sufficient jobs for your countrymen and leaves a significant amount of their revenue in the Nigerian economy. These policies are necessary to open up numerous business opportunities which translate to employment for many. Apart from policies, government spending is also very necessary. For example, electricity is the heart of business anywhere in the world. Policies alone don't create power to run electrical appliances and equipment, neither do they create good roads. Yet these two things are a fundamental necessity for any economic or industrial endeavor. Spend money to fix things and create an enabling environment which is self-efficient and self-sustaining. Beyond government role, you also have a role to play in exploring Nigeria's economic diversity. In fact, even in government failure, you can still salvage much. If you make an effort, and I make an effort, and our neighbors make an effort, then we'll have little to worry about as touching the government failing in its responsibility. In fulfilling our roles, the very first thing, as I have already established in different forms since Chapter 1, is that you must see diversity and acknowledge it. Yes. If you cannot see diversity, then you'll see only hardship and frustration. But if you see diversity and acknowledge it, you would see countless opportunities. We need more and more Nigerians to begin to see and acknowledge Nigeria's economic diversity. The more the number, the more we look away from an unreliable government which cannot provide us jobs, the more we create countless opportunities for ourselves and for others. For every job you do, at least 2 other persons are employed. For example, if you have a contract to supply a certain commodity. Assuming you work alone, you'll take public transportation and purchase the goods from someone who probably also works alone. So, the driver and the seller means at least 2 other people have a job in meeting the needs of your own job. Even if you have your car, you'll fuel it, meaning there needs to be a petrol station to sell you fuel. Therefore, in playing your role by exploring the diversity you see and acknowledge, you create opportunities for others directly and indirectly. Your role beyond seeing and acknowledging Nigeria's economic diversity is that you embrace other options instead of what everyone else is doing or what's trending. The crowd doesn't look sideways or backwards so they can't see everything. Everybody wants to rush forward, and in doing that, they only see few opportunities which they all struggle and compete to seize. But we have to stop following the crowd to see the common jobs that are existing. More can be created, and existing ones can be expanded. Economic diversity isn't only a matter of cross-industry opportunities. Even though oil, agriculture, media, health, manufacturing, etc. already spell diversity, manufacturing alone is diverse enough. We already manufacture many things, but it's not enough. We need to expect more and do more. There are many things yet to be manufactured in Nigeria. And there are some that are yet to be given a deeper and wider look for expansion to reach more people and more places. And also create more opportunities for harnessing local content. Travel and tourism. Nigeria is home to several tourist attractions, both for foreigners and locals. Foreigners come here to explore our indigenous cultural heritage sites as well as unique landscapes or other natural phenomena. But the sad story is that Nigeria is not so much attractive to the outside world to attract a significant number of foreign tourists. As of 2016, there was a huge decline in the number of foreign tourists to the country, and the hospitality industry didn't help matters as it had a general reduction in quality. Coupled with the hike in dollar price, Nigerians couldn't travel out to their preferred destinations for the usual vacations and tourism adventures. As a result of these, 97% of the Nigerian tourism revenue came from local travels in 2016. Do you realize how much volume this speaks? Clearly, it shows that if we focus enough attention on significantly improving our tourism and travel, we can generate enough revenue to make the sector boom greatly. Both directly and indirectly, nearly 2 million jobs were created by travel and tourism. That was in a year things were rough for the nation. How much more it would be if we invested enough time and resources into lifting the industry to attract many foreign tourists. You see, our cultural, biological, religious, and geographical diversities are enough potentials for attracting visitors from far and near. We only need to appreciate, celebrate and package these things excellently. More so, the hospitality industry needs to raise its game to increase the value and return patronage of travelers and tourists. This would not only benefit foreigners, it would encourage more Nigerians to embark on cross-city or cross-state travels and tourism. Northerners and Easterners can be given memorable treats when they visit tourist attractions in the southwest such as Nike Art Gallery, Eranajesha Waterfall, New Africa Shrine, Adanre Hills, Alumo Rock, Lekki Conservation Center, etc. Likewise, Southerners and Easterners can travel to explore and enjoy the North Siankari Game Reserve, Kano City Walls, Kajur Castle, etc. Finally, Northerners and Easterners can explore the East in places such as the National War Museum Umuahia, Ogbunike Cave, etc. These tourist attractions can be garnished with touches of modern-day attractions to attract locals and foreigners alike. Unless we're ready to appreciate and explore our cultural, biological, religious, and geographical diversities, we will never unlock the potentials of tourism in the country. Forget the billions of naira flowing in already, it's nothing compared to the tens of billions of dollars raked in by leading tourism countries around the world. So much for a diversified nation as Nigeria. 1. You must understand that heaven doesn't sow seeds for any nation, neither does heaven intervene in the affairs of nations without the active participation of the people of that nation. 2. If you detest or trivialize the natural things around you and dream of enjoying the ones in foreign places, you may never have full peace and happiness where you are. 3. You have to deliberately open up yourself to what you're not used to in your locality. 4. Did you know that Nigeria's biodiversity offers a huge potential in medical exploration that's capable of serving international medical needs? 5. The same biodiversity that you probably have never recognized or acknowledged is the very source of wealth to many individuals, families, and organizations, if not states. 6. Diversity is the way to prosperity for Nigeria. 7. Beyond government role, you also have a role to play in exploring Nigeria's economic diversity. 8. If you cannot see diversity, then you'll see only hardship and frustration.